All right, I think we call to order this meeting. We okay? All set? Good. Glad you're here, Bob. The meeting of the Board of Zoning Appeals. I'm Ulysses, Board of Zoning Appeals for the 19th of July, 2023. Tonight, joining us here in person are Tom Butler, Cheryl, Andy and me, and I want to say that Bob Howard is joining us from afar, and Bob could not be here tonight. What are the exact words? I don't want to say emergency, but
I'm in Massachusetts for work.
Yeah, extraordinary circumstances prevented him from being here, but we do have a quorum on board, and Bob is joining us as a full committee member tonight. I do want to start with I'd like to hear a motion to appoint Tom as a full voting member of tonight's meeting. So an alternate. We have a motion. Second. Second. Okay. Bill seconds it. I want to call it the vote. Aye. Aye.
Aye.
Bob, you said aye. Thank you very much. The motion passes. Tom, great. I'm really glad to see you here tonight, as usual. The next thing is I really want to talk about, I guess, not really the agenda, but I think we better get this bunch of things that we've had backlog, and they are a lot of past minutes from very recent meetings. So people in the audience are going to have to bear with us while we go through these. So we have a nice little pile of them from recent minutes, and I think we need to start from January 18th. Is that true? Yep. Okay. So that's my order of business, and I'll give you all a minute or to look over your notes on the minutes. I'm going to say that Steve and Bob are both absent for this meeting, so I'm not sure that we can add much other than if we see some glaring errors, which I didn't see.
For January
18th. Wednesday, January.
I did want to ask something about that, but let me try to pull it up.
Sure.
Yeah.
I have a copy if you want. Yep.
Okay.
Andy would share for that meeting, right? Yes. Okay.
Okay, so not, I think we might have been. We hadn't really figured out how we're going to word our resolutions yet.
Yes, that's
With our
right.
new secretary, and I'm actually not sure if that was what's happening, but this paragraph, after now, therefore, be it resolved as follows. Considering all of the statutory factors set forth above, the BZA concludes that decreasing the side yard setback from 24 feet to 5 feet will outweigh the potential detriment to the health, safety, and welfare of the neighborhood. So that's not really
Right.
how we say it. It's not like that will outweigh something. It's whether the benefit to the applicant will outweigh. So something has to change there. I haven't reworded it yet, but I actually don't even know if that paragraph is needed. If you look at the way the document is organized, I don't think we really need it. Maybe we could just go straight to this list of things, but it also just doesn't have as much repetitive.
Page 3 of the 18th, January 18 minutes.
Yeah, this little paragraph. doesn't
Now,
go on.
therefore, be resolved as follows. Okay, yeah. I'm with you.
All right, so we've got the whereas. And then all the things that we considered. And then it's just like kind of a short version of our answers to the whereas or to the 5 statutory factors.
Yeah, that doesn't make sense there, does it?
And then a good conclusion for the reasons set forth above. They do grant the area variance, and then it did get denied, but we're stating it in the positive, so that's okay. But yeah, do you think we can just take that paragraph out? And Andy's following, I think.
Yeah, I am. And actually, I'm looking ahead too to see what because he did smooth it out as we went along.
Yeah,
And always say by considering the 5 statutory factors, the BZA, blah, blah, blah. That's how we get into the 5. To the whole thing. So do you want to start in the other way? Considering
well, they got that.
whether
That's good. And that's the 5 statutory factors.
construction.
Yeah, I think we just delete that. I don't think that paragraph is
I
meaningful.
think that that's what
I think
we
this was an extra.
have always done and we continue to do. I like it.
Okay, are you guys following what I'm saying here?
It could be.
Which paragraph exactly?
All right, it says, now therefore be it resolved as follows.
Okay.
That's page
And
2.
then I don't, yeah, you don't put, oh, page 3 on here. I put page 3. And it says it in big bold type though, so you should be able to find it.
This is the Reynolds Road.
Yes,
I have 2 pages for this. Oh, the minutes.
So you want to take out the paragraph right under the bold type? Is that what you're saying?
I think it can be taken out.
Well, what are you trying to take out?
Just.
Well, just that paragraph, it's just a
Like
bunch
it was
of
like
extra
a,
stuff.
it seemed like it was a draft or something. It didn't, like a different wording that didn't actually need to be said. And it also doesn't make sense.
Right.
And we smoothed it out later as we were getting the new team on board and all that. so.
We didn't smooth out these minutes, but we have a better format now
Okay.
of how things are typed up.
Okay, so just considering all the statutory factors paragraph. we
Yeah.
get rid of that.
Yeah, and if you maybe if you reread it at some point in a minute, like put it in highlight, like you might read, like edit it out, but just make sure that makes sense to you. If you were the one that wrote it, I'm not sure.
I started here at the end of February,
Okay,
so
that's
nothing
what-
before the March minutes.
So who wrote
we
it?
wrote.
Well,
Oh, Neil, okay,
no, this was a little,
what?
this was a little.
Lou, huh, okay, well, I mean, it's not anyone's fault, it's just, needs to be. Someone needs to figure out if I'm getting it right there, but I'm pretty sure it can get taken out.
Yep.
Yeah, I'm okay with just pulling it.
Yep.
Okay,
Any other?
I'm sorry, I'm
comments?
still not following.
Just deleting that.
What we're doing here is saying, here are our conclusions.
yeah, these are this is just like the.
These are the criteria,
Those are the
and here's what we conclude.
So why is
What do you want to take out?
this one? In the middle there.
Just take out that
That's
piece.
a conclusion paragraph, but it's set before our conclusions are made, and it also doesn't make sense, because it says that the setback outweighs the welfare of the neighborhood, which isn't really, we usually say the benefit to the applicant outweighs the detriment to the neighborhood, and this doesn't have that phrase in it, so it's kind of just a
Okay.
non-sense.
Okay.
Like, it's no,
If it's
like, someone thinks that-
nonsensical to you, I'm fine.
You know, if we could leave it in and say, considering all the statutory factors set forth above, the Board of Zoning Appeals concludes that the benefit to the applicant by decreasing the side yard setback from 24 to 5 will outweigh the potential detriment of the health, safety, and welfare of the neighborhood. But, and then it would sort of make sense, but then it was 2 to 2 and it failed.
But it's still out of order, isn't it? Because it's before we go through our answers.
Yeah,
We usually
yeah.
say that
so-
after we go through all the answers.
Yeah, so it's at the end, right? So
Yep.
And we have one at the end, we have a
We
decent
do,
paragraph.
that's what's redundant is with the.
rather than trying to make it fit and change it, I think it's just as good to remove it.
You found Tom? It's already in there, so why have it there in the front? We always put it in the back. Considering all the factors,
I mean, we do say that. Considering all the statutory factors.
I feel like it doesn't disrupt anything by having it there.
it's redundant, but we hadn't smoothed things out yet, I agree.
Yeah, okay.
I like to keep things. I wasn't here, so I'm not, are you okay with it, Tom?
Yes.
That was worth the bar.
But we need something to introduce number 1. We need a phrase or a clause or something. Resolved as follows, will not create that. We gotta have something in there.
Well,
And that-
we're not removing the bold now, therefore it be resolved as follows.
All right, yeah, I think maybe that's, all right, so you're looking forward. in the next minutes, does it have that phrase and what follows it?
No, where does it jump in from? Is
Like
that
in
the
the,
very
in the
beginning?
February minutes, does it
It
have
does
the
not
phrase?
have that. Does not?
Here, let me give you, this is
No,
your.
no, I just had that on, the next one. Actually, doing that one the next time, so it comes later.
Oh, right, we didn't have one in February.
Mhm. Right, so here's your, the next time. You can start back
Okay,
here somewhere.
yeah, so considering all statutory factors set forth above.
We can start earlier though.
Okay, let's do this. Let's
Yeah,
do that.
I agree.
Okay, so instead of taking out completely, we'll just
That's
change it to, can we just change it to that?
That's okay with me.
Can I see that one again? Sorry. Your, this is January,
15. Yeah,
okay,
You're looking at the April 19th meeting.
yeah. Yeah, that's a good. That's what we come down to.
okay, so. That paragraph that starts out, considering all statutory factors set forth above. The Board of Zoning Appeals. And then. Delete the rest of the paragraph and put in finds the following. And then colon. And then it will match our other. New and improved. Okay. Alright.
Good. Anybody okay with that? Okay. Any other comments on those?
What's oh, the password. What's the
Oh,
password?
I don't know. What's the password here?
Oh,
Yeah, it's.
okay.
Thank you. Okay, can I call it vote? I'll accept the minutes as amended.
Yes.
I,
Okay, we have three. That's it. I'm abstaining because I wasn't here.
I'll abstain as well.
Thank you, Bob. Okay, motion passes. Let's go to the next one. Hopefully, we'll pass it. And the next one is February 15th. Is that correct? Yeah. When we're February. Give you a minute to look at this. Anybody? I have a couple edits. I can start if you want.
Can I have the password then?
Maybe.
yeah, that's good.
I have a few suggested edits as well, but I'll follow you.
Okay. Okay, Andy was absent at this one. All the rest of us were here and. Okay, so on pages 2 through 4, I had actually a few, sorry. Oh, only because you left us with a bunch of. Staff was asked by so-and-so, and then you had X's like question mark, and staff was asked by XXX, staff was asked by, and that's 1, 2, 3 times in a row. And then there's a red thing saying this needs more elaboration. So 1, 2, 3, 4, all 4 of those can just be totally amended as far as I'm.
What page are you on?
I am on page 2. We have red, a bunch of red, or not? No. Meeting minutes, February 15th. See what I'm looking at? We don't know. That's not on ours.
Sorry, all the files got moved around.
No, that's fine.
Update.
That's fine. That's why we've been hesitating to do this.
So
Lucky
which parts
you.
do you want to talk about? Just the stuff in red or the stuff above it?
Yeah, if you don't have that on there, all the red.
Just omit the red.
Not all the red, just the ones that I omitted, each need to be stricken. I don't think we need to identify every time.
This guy's.
On, nope, just those, the ones that I have marked.
check marks. Yep. Okay. Edit marks, strike out. Look.
So you're striking the staff is asked little paragraphs.
What does it say?
Staff is asked.
Staff is asked. Staff is asked.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, no, that's good.
We've got no, fucking no down here.
Staff was asked by. So this is what I struck by I-6X max.
Mhm.
All right, so they're already stricken, they're already missing. Okay, good. So, sorry. Yeah, sure.
I didn't have anything for February.
Okay, it's good. Then what's next after that? Staff was asked, same thing. Staff was asked. And then go to Tigason, provided the classification designated by USFWS,
Mhm.
services.
Wildlife services.
And, okay, good, so I wanted to. Okay, so I'm in that, next paragraph on page 3. Starting with Tigason, provided the classification, got that, just a little. Short paragraph. Can you give us your comments? They're just, it needs a word put in there. USFWS and said that additional information, there's just a word missing. Right? And said that additional information would be provided.
And provided classification doesn't, he provided that additional information.
Or he said, no, he actually reported, he said additional information will be provided.
What's their word, still work grammatically?
Which one, right here? Really?
Yeah, he provided the classification and provided that the additional information would be provided to the
Oh, you're
board.
saying provided?
So
Thank you.
that provided carries over to the next clause grammatically. He didn't say it, he provided it as information.
Oh,
Grammatically,
no, he
that
actually
works.
provided, he gave it to
Right.
us.
Right, and that, so that word provided works for both clauses. You don't need to add a say and say,
No, I disagree, because that's not what happened at the meeting either.
okay,
Maybe this was provided physically, and then he said that additional would be provided,
okay,
so I just wanted to. And it was.
I'm just using a different definition.
And it
of the
was
word
later,
provided.
yeah,
That's
I know,
okay.
we're double using it, okay, so you got that, Molly, sorry,
So you just want to
the word said.
add. Put said after the USFWS and said
And said that additional information would be provided to the board,
provided.
it was the end of a future promise.
Any other changes for these?
All the red seems to be gone, that's fine. I'm good, Bob, what did you have?
I have a couple of things. First, at the beginning of the meeting, I raised an issue with how the minutes were being taken, in fact, because I made the point that I thought it was inappropriate for the town planner to also be the person recording the minutes. You know, most of our BZA meetings, when we're doing hearings, as we were in this case, we're almost always hearing appeals from decisions made by the planner. And I think the planner has an inherent conflict of interest in being the person who tries to both defend his position and be the person capturing that discussion. So I made that point. There's nothing in the minutes about that, and I would like that to be part of the minutes at the start. I have 3 other comments, which are at the end of the minutes, the last page. It says, discussion ensued on implementing board rules. Howard distributed materials to the board and staff for consideration. We actually I did distribute those. We spent a lot of time discussing them then and at the next meeting. And I would respectfully request that the materials I distributed be formally part of the minutes. So there's a record of what we discussed and what I presented. And then it says, discussion ensued on the need to update the town's webpage on information. I think that's too vague. At least I, maybe others, pointed out that the material that was on the town board at that time I think it's been updated some, but at that time did not accurately reflect either what the BZA does in practice or the state guidance on what BZAs should do. And I think it was important to update that. I think it has been updated, but I think it should be in the minutes, that not just that it was a discussion, but in fact that there was a strong need to update it because it was inaccurate. And then it says discussion ensued on notice requirements, procedures, and best practices. And again, I think this is too vague. We discussed, and I believe we asked the town board to require written notices on sites. And I don't know if such a request ever went forward to the town board or not, but there's nothing here in the minutes to suggest we even talked about that. So I'd like to have some clarity on that, and hopefully it actually did get to the town board. So those are my 4 points.
I feel like those are, a couple of those are really spelled out well in the following minutes, Bob.
Okay, but I think they ought to be in here too.
But did we say the 2 meetings, 2 different meetings? Is that what you're saying?
We spent a lot of time discussing these things at this meeting, and these minutes do not reflect what we did.
Okay, because it's the next meeting reflects all those in detail, actually. It talks about distance away and all that stuff that we talked about.
Well, that's great because we discussed it at 2 different meetings, but if you read these
Okay.
minutes, you would have no clue that we spent time doing it. I think we spent about an hour and a half doing it.
We
And
did, we spent a long time.
There's no clue. It sounds here like it was a 3-minute throwaway discussion at the end. So I really feel it's a disservice.
So what do you recommend in terms of amending the minutes?
Well, again, I'd like a statement at the beginning that I at least stated for the record that I thought was a poor practice for the town planner to be the person taking minutes because of inherent conflict of interest. I think that ought to be on the record. I request that the handout that I gave out be formally attached to and become part of these minutes. And a little bit of detail on the 2 other things, which I think are too vague. Discussion. I mean, the reason we're discussing it was that it was inaccurate, and the minutes should reflect that.
Yeah. I'm just trying to give direction to our recorder here.
So you want details on the 2 items following the note about the webpage having inaccurate information?
I think simply saying that the discussion pointed out numerous inaccuracies, which the BZA felt should be fixed. I think that would be enough. I don't think we need to go into the detail, but here that there's no indication that there's anything inaccurate. We just talked about it. That could be, we didn't like the graphics, or maybe we thought it was wrong color or whatever. It's too vague. We spent a lot of time talking about it, and the minutes just don't capture it. And again, on the discussion of notification and best practices, as Steve says it, we talked about the next meeting as well, but we talked about here at some length. And we specifically asked that it go to the town board to change the practice so that we have better notification of our hearings, including signs on site, as the planning board has done for quite some time. We were told that we didn't have the power to require that, but the town board could, and I believe we requested that go to the town board. So I'd like that to be part of the minutes, so we can track whether or not things actually go to the town board. We made that request in February.
I'm good with all that. I was just a little bit nonplussed in how to proceed on these minutes, just being.
Well, it goes to the problem of how the minutes were taken. If you'd like, I can work
Right.
with others after the fact. I cannot vote to approve the minutes as written. So we can postpone
what
this
I'm
one
wondering.
to the next meeting if you like, or we can do it now, but I can't vote to accept them as
Are
they
you
are.
willing to draft up some of the stuff you said, and then we can look at it?
At the next meeting, yes, I can do that.
Do we have a recording?
We do have a recording, right? From that, it says it was on Zoom. It was, yeah.
Yep.
So we have a recording. How do you want to proceed, Bob? You want to check that recording out, or do you just want to write up a couple of the things that you said that are actually was a
If it's
good
okay with
summary?
you, I'll do it from memory unless people want
Yep.
to check me,
That'd
but
be good.
yeah.
Yeah, that'd be great. I would really appreciate that. All right,
So-
so then we're
someone-
gonna,
Someone may need to remind me, because I'm I'm in the field at the moment. As you can hear, I'm losing my voice because I've Been out
I
in the
know it.
sun and wind all day long, but I will do it before our next meeting if I have a reminder.
You sound a bit gruff. I thought it was me.
No, it's too much wind and sun.
But it would probably be good if you checked his memory with the video
Yeah,
to make sure it was said there.
yep. So how does Bob access the video right now?
It's
They're on
right there.
YouTube.
There's a link for it.
Perfect. Excellent.
If someone can send me a link, that would be great.
It's in the chart.
So what
It's in this chart.
sort of link?
Yeah. Yeah, I looked at one.
Excellent. Okay, good. So I think we're going to table the discussion on the pending more information from Bob would be great.
I have a question
Yeah.
about this procedure. So the January minutes, I suggested an edit, now you voted for it.
Yep.
So does the edited form ever come in front of us or does it just?
It'll be final, so it'll be on the website. but
That'll go right in where you had all the past minutes, right?
It just won't go again before the board, because you've already approved it.
But it'll be changed before it was approved.
It'll be marked final and all that.
But I mean, that change that
Yeah.
was requested to be made, but with Bob's, we don't know the change, so we're gonna wait to approve.
That one will come back for next.
So we still have to vote on that, though.
All right,
Whatever the changes are, we haven't finalized them. Right. All right, so those say final as opposed to, and then the other ones are just voted off the website, off the page.
Correct, because those are just drafts.
Yeah, okay, good. That answer your question? Adequately?
put it off the page.
Yeah, it's the old ones are just drafts and we're just gonna supersede, but the finals over the top. So they're not there. The record of those is coming. Okay, so everybody okay with that? Tabling this one till next time, pending Bob's, a couple of Bob's additions, amendments, clarifications. Thank you, Bob. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
All right, so that was February.
So we're tabling in February?
Yes, we are.
Okay,
Thanks. Then I want to go to March 15. Did you get a chance to look at that? I had 2 edits for that one. And I think they're small.
I have a few as well.
Okay, great. All the way to page 5, Molly,
Mhm.
the last page. Whatever that is in your. First line, applicants, but reiterated that the board does not make, isn't that a make? Change that word, please. To make any guarantees. And then the next paragraph down, or whatever that is, on the subheading town board liaison report. There's at the motion by Andrew Hillman to adjourn, I think is the word, not adjourn. That's all I had. Nice job, by the way, Molly. Very nice job. Bob? You had something?
Yeah, if I could, and I agree, Molly, good job overall, but I still have some things I'd like to see changed or modified a little bit. I'm having a hard time reading the pages number here, but under the approval of the agenda, it says Howard suggested releasing agenda 2 weeks in advance of meetings. What I proposed was that we require the agenda to go out 2 weeks in advance, subject to the ability of the chair to modify for emergencies. So it was much more than just a suggestion. On the next page, Chair Morreale expressed discomfort with approaching a site without prior owner permission. I guess this isn't really changed for a minute, but I am curious as to whether or not we've implemented that in our further processes, but I guess that's not really changed for the minute, so I'm fine with that at the moment. Once we start deliberating, it says Howard indicated that he lives relatively close to the subject property and considered the application a conflict of interest. I tried to be a little bit more nuanced than that. What I said is I live quite close to the subject property and I wish to recuse myself from the consideration. I believe Steve Morreale then stated he saw no legal conflict of interest in this regard. And I said I agreed that there was no legal conflict of interest, so I didn't have to recuse myself, but I wanted preferred to do so. So I don't think we want to set a precedent where living nearby requires recusal, but I stated a preference for doing so for personal reasons. On the vote, I abstained, which I think the minutes should reflect. And the same on the next page, I abstained on the motion, so I'd like to see the minutes reflect that.
Oh, would you like?
Yeah, what page you on?
I'm sorry, I can't read the page numbers and what I have in front of me, so. But they're page 2, I guess it says, towards the end.
205.
It says vote. Thomas Butler, I, Andrew Hillman, I, Chair
Yeah,
Murray, I. I'd like to say Howarth abstained.
Okay, good.
And the same on the top of the next page. Not a big deal, but. On the next, further down under old business, it says he stated the role of the BZA is to hear appeals of the decisions referred by staff at the town's Department of Planning, Zoning, Building Codes and Enforcement. And then it goes, hearing appeals is the sole business of the BZA when hearing appeals. Well, having a hard time even reading my notes, my apologies. I guess I'm okay with that. Since I can't make sense of my own notes, it can't be a big deal, right? And do I have anything further? Let's see. Yeah, on page, the next page, and I'm again apologizing. It starts at the top. It says, Howarth stated that the state of New York requires 5 days of notice and contacting neighboring properties within 500 feet, but suggested a 500-foot radius would be a needed improvement. Again, I was trying to be more nuanced. I was suggesting have a discussion on that, and that it might be an improvement, but I actually said perhaps 1,000, maybe 1,200, maybe 1,500 feet. I was trying to suggest it's something we on the BZA together with the town board take under discussion rather than mandating that. I thought 1,500 was the correct thing. I think it should be more than 500 for sure.
Want me to write, suggested a larger radius, perhaps 1,500?
Yeah, that would be great. Thank you.
And then you didn't say mandate. I don't think you did you?
No, I did not say that.
Or we did talk about that though, having the sign and all posted on the properties.
Well, we did, and we were told that we don't have the power to do it. Again, it's up to the town board. And I thought we asked the town board to take that under consideration. So that the minutes should reflect that, I think. And I don't know if if the town board knows that we've done that or not. I have no idea. But our minutes at least should reflect that was our plan.
It says he suggested introducing a mandate for signage on all applicant properties. I'm withdrawing my objection to that. I think you did do that.
For the time, yes, yeah. And after discussion, I think several of us said we'd like to see the town board take that up.
Yep. Yeah, we talked about it for a while too.
Okay, I'll add after discussion, several or all BZA members expressed interest in something like that. How do you want
At least several. I don't know if we all did, but it was a fairly long discussion. It wasn't just me, and again, we were. I mean, I still am not sure we can't just do it on our own, but we were. It was suggested that maybe we couldn't, and it would be better in any case for the town board to do it. And I agree, it would be better for the town board to do it. So I thought we were indicating a request to the town board to take it under consideration. And if it's not in the minutes saying that, then, then how do we ever get it to the town board? How do they know what we've even thought? Those are my comments. Thank you.
That's good. And we did have a lengthy discussion on that. You're right. And I'm hope we can capture some of that feeling.
I'm not sure we made a formal recommendation to. the
No, we
town
didn't,
board.
but if you read on, we talked about it a lot.
We
right?
talked about it.
How did you do it? How would you do that? And do we have the right to do it and all that kind of stuff? But I like you did say we would like to put it forth to the town board. You did say that. If you feel like that's said enough in here or not said.
I just want to make it clear that we believe it would be good for the town board to either take this up on their own or in discussion with us.
Yep, okay. Well, we had plenty of questions. I mean, I read this and I'm, yeah, we did that. Yes, we did. That's why I said, I was thinking, nice job, Molly, nice job.
Yes, it is a good job. Thank you.
There's a note halfway down the page, Howard expressed that he would like the board to adopt a resolution that will require the posting of the site with signage. Did you want that adjusted?
The same page, where are you?
It's about halfway down. That's the page we're just on, page 4. If you
Mhm.
can see the page numbers, it's yeah, in the second half of the page.
Yeah. The town board will ultimately need to take action, that one? Right.
I was looking at
Which paragraph you on?
so if you're going up from the bottom,
Yep.
it's the 4th paragraph from the bottom.
The board agreed, that one?
Yes.
Mhm. Howard expressed that he would like the board to adopt a resolution that will require the posting of a site with signage. Seems pretty clear, right?
Seems so to me.
Thank you, Molly. Anything else, Bob?
No, that's all. Thank you.
Any other comments?
So the only real change was the saying large instead of just 1,600, right? Like we could vote on it this time.
Yeah,
Or did
I'm
you
not
make
sure
any
how many
changes?
words got changed there.
So I changed it to. But suggested a larger radius, perhaps 1,500 feet. Would be a needed improvement. And then I wasn't sure if you wanted to add something at the end of that. Suggested introducing a mandate for signage on all applicant properties. So did you want a note about the discussion after that, or?
I think it says it right after that discussion.
Got enough?
Yeah, you've got a pretty good discussion here.
Okay, I thought you
think-
said you didn't feel like it was represented, that some part of the discussion was missing.
You got a sentence you would like to add, Bob? That
I'm sorry, I
discussion-
lost track of the conversation. Where are we?
It was just that Molly had a tangible change, which was the distance.
Right, I heard that.
Like that, okay, and then after that is she's asking if she should add more about the discussion, but I didn't, but there was a lengthy talk about the
Maybe
The
I
points,
didn't,
but-
I just misheard you. I thought earlier when we were discussing this page, you wanted something added in there.
yeah,
but
so
you're okay.
do you have something you want to add in?
No, I think it's okay. It's
Okay. And it
sorry for
says
the confusion.
Dude, and then another point that you made was pretty clear here that the board should take it up and all that, okay,
Right.
So we could vote on him.
I'm okay. Are you okay with that?
What about Bob? You want-
Yeah, are you okay with that, Bob?
Yes, I'm okay.
Okay,
Thank you.
okay, good, I'd like to call this the vote, we have a motion?
Abstaining.
You're
I'm
abstaining?
abstaining, so I'm not moving it.
Okay, Cheryl,
I wasn't here, so I was gonna abstain on that.
I'll
Okay.
move to accept them as amended.
yeah, and aye, so that's 3, 2 abstains, motion carries if there was even a motion. The minutes pass. We move to April. April.
What?
I think it's TOU 1794.
We need to ask this.
Oh.
We need to ask this.
Oh,
Just FYI.
thank you.
Okay, edits, I have a couple of edits on page 4 and 5.
I have one small edit once you're done.
Okay, great.
So we're
We're at April 19th.
okay. Thanks.
Actually, let's start at the beginning, I'm sorry, page 1, proceedings. Chair Morielli, the meeting to order, I think you just need the word call the meeting to order. I want to jump to page 3 after that. A little more.
Minors.
Yeah, what?
And
Comma?
I'll apologize ahead of time, yeah. I think that approval of past minute meetings.
Yeah.
I think it should be was postponed because you're talking about the approval, not the minutes of the 15th and the 4th. You know, the approval was postponed.
Yeah, I agree.
So instead of were, it
We're
should be
agreeing,
was.
we need this. Yeah, that was instead of we're. We're being sorry. That's all right. I'm gonna be even worse than that. Therefore, be resolved on page 3 of 6. Number 3, the benefits sought by blah, blah, blah can be achieved by some method, and there's a comma, straight comma floating around there. So we see more 50. How's that?
Is there a number in front of that?
Number 3, what?
3.
It says some method, and there's a comma after that.
I like that comma.
Why?
I think it's an optional column. You
Okay.
could or could
I
not
would
be
call
there.
it straight comma.
Some method feasible for the applicant to pursue. How's that? Well,
True, good point, good point. All right, I hear you now.
Okay,
This one, yeah. Yeah, there's how much.
Okay, I will delete it.
thank you. Okay, so the next page, page 4 of 6, number 16. This one here. I think it's this, starts at the second sentence, the tram will be 33 feet from the streamline as opposed to the required 75 feet setback. Okay, can you please just change that to the required setback of 75 feet?
Okay.
Just change the word of that.
Steve, associated with that,
Yeah.
I'm not sure what we actually discussed, and maybe this accurately says what we did at the meeting, but in reading through the zoning since then, I believe the setback is from the stream edge as opposed to, I'm not sure what a stream line is. To me, it suggests the middle.
Oh, yeah, good point. It's not the middle, right?
She
Or no,
wants
it
to-
isn't. It's the stream edge.
Instead of line.
Yes,
Is that true?
yes. Yeah, because it could be a huge stream, right? And those are kind of gone.
Yeah.
I've been looking at it closely because I think about putting a garage on my own property, and whether it's the middle or the edge of the stream makes a huge difference to me. So
Now there you might want to recuse yourself when you come to us.
I may have to if it comes to you, yes.
Okay, so but continuing along that, along the setback is substantial. It's
Yeah.
not really the setback,
Right,
it's
that's
the
what I-
encroachment on the setback. So
Uh-huh,
although the encroachment on the setback, how's it?
sure.
Okay.
The tram will be further from the stream than the current one. You have it says which minimizes the importance of the setback. I'd like to strike that and say the impact. Period.
Not-
So importance of the setback, no, just the impact.
Yes,
Because we're really talking about not the setback, we're talking about the encroachment.
yeah, and the importance isn't minimized.
No, but the impact is, that's what we said, actually. So it reads, although the setback is substantial, although the encroachment on the setback is substantial, the drainage will not be toward the stream, which minimizes the impact. Good.
Sounds good.
Okay with that? Okay, and then next page, 506. Start with a paragraph for the reasons set forth above, so the first paragraph. Long text, the BZA. And I really like to refer to the conditions later, and we don't do that until, we just don't do that. So the BZA, comma, subject to the following conditions, either here or at the end of the paragraph, which is what we do later when we do the same thing. We put it at the very end of the paragraph. You follow me on that? Yeah. Which do you prefer? So the BZA hereby does grant blah, 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 all the stuff. And then at the very end, you can say, subject to the following conditions, and then the conditions are after
Yeah,
that.
subject to the
Like
following
that?
conditions at the end, I think.
At the
works.
very end.
Yeah.
We've done that in the other, in the previous.
Yeah, you can't miss it there. And it doesn't confuse you.
Okay, yeah, and then it's kind of like leads on
It's
to the
right
next
there,
condition.
yeah.
All right, so at the end.
Mhm.
And that one there, I just thought was pretty important because we didn't grant it. We only granted it subject to the conditions. And that carries into our more recent stuff too. Bob or anybody else?
Just one small addition on the last page, just before the motion paragraph that says targets and explained, et cetera. It says Howarth reiterated that this adjustment was made to protect agricultural land. I'd like to add and open land generally. I'm not sure if I actually said that, but that was certainly in my intent. It isn't just agricultural land.
So, and open land in general.
Yeah, in general.
Yeah. Good, that a good, Bob?
Thank you. Yep, thank you.
Okay.
Yep.
Andy? Yes, okay, let's, we accepted those amendments and let's call that to vote. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Aye, okay, it's unanimous, the meetings are accepted, the minutes are accepted for that.
I think we need a first and second for these motions. I'm not sure.
Yeah, are we, okay, so do I hear a motion to it?
So move.
All right, second, all right, seconded, call the vote.
Aye.
Aye. Bob,
Aye.
thank you, Cheryl,
Hi.
unanimous.
Is anybody abstaining from April? I can't remember.
No abstaining here.
Abstaining, oh. Hi.
That it? We done with the minutes?
Got you.
What?
Okay.
One more.
There is.
April, March, April.
Yeah, June last.
June, yeah, sorry. Okay, moving on to June. Which kind of brings us forward to some of the stuff for now. So I have a couple edits for June. Anybody else want to go first this time? You want me to go?
So,
Go for, I like following you.
Okay, edits on pages 2 and 3. So let's go to page 2. I want to discuss a little bit of a couple things too. And go to 1, 2, 3, 4 full paragraphs, starting with depending on which variance. Depending on which variance is being considered, there may be a rehearing, but this will depend on clarifications to be made with legal counsel. I guess I really want to ask, I have a big question mark. Did we get clarification from counsel?
That information, or do you, Nate's?
That's what Nate said. Yeah, okay, good. Thank you. Good one. Okay, that following paragraph right after that sentence. Chair Morelli stated he would like a brief summary of what the planning board has decided. I think the word is regarding, not requiring.
right.
Okay.
I thought I-
Okay. Next paragraph currently saved starts with, we gotta go down 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 lines. Reduce construction costs, stay further away from adjacent properties and I think it's reallocate, not relocate.
I'm sorry, which paragraph? is
Oh,
this? Same
the-
page? Which page 3 now?
It's the one from currently Savard is focused.
Okay,
It's like 6 lines down.
raise construction costs. Okay.
And then instead of relocate, it's reallocate. Next paragraph, I'm not sure. Yeah, I'm not sure. I just was like, what? Savard spoke about the newer techniques that are being used to calculate the stormwater estimations. The state's developing new techniques, blah, blah, blah. Okay, Savard stated that newer studies are showing that perhaps the greater occurrence of these intense storms will be less critical than previously thought. That went by me. That was said.
I
Was
didn't
that
hear
actually
that.
said?
I think that is what she said, although some of us objected to it, I think.
The way I heard it was she said, we're using new data that's showing things aren't going to be as bad as we previously thought, but I didn't. Get a clear indication of where that was coming from. I can go back to.
But you heard that somebody.
I know
Did
you
did
were
you
not
hear that?
saying that.
Something like that, I don't know if she said that exactly, so we should probably ask her if she wants to be quoted that way, but it was something like. That it was gonna bring it back from that 500 year. It was like, it was, her data was less demanding than the 500 year.
Excuse me, you guys, this is Kristen. I'm on the phone if you need anything. Can you
Okay.
hear me? Okay,
Yeah,
I'm
hi,
here.
Kristen.
I'm sitting muted, but I am here if you need any clarifications.
Thanks, Kristen. So that would certainly justify your reaction, Bob. I would say your objection, some of it, or explain it, right? Can I just put in a signing statement here to say I was just back from Vermont where they had 9 inches of rain. I'm not sure that that has any validity whatsoever. I like to, if there was somewhere else, I'd say strike it from the record, but I didn't remember her saying that because I think I would have been a little bit more alarmed or alerted to that, but okay.
I believe she did.
What you
I
did?
was alarmed. I think you were jet lagged.
Okay, so we're on page 3, I guess, starting with. And I have a question
Well,
of
but
this.
she said she's on the call. Yeah. Yeah,
Okay, go ahead.
Kristen, do you wanna say whether you said that or not?
I apologize. I didn't zoom into the details of what you were saying until I heard my name, so I don't know the full extent of what you're talking about at the moment.
Oh,
Okay.
okay,
If
we
you
were
want to
just,
repeat,
sure. And it's just in the minutes. We're just going over the minutes and Savard
Yep.
stated, newer studies are showing that perhaps the greater occurrence of these intense storms will be less critical than previously thought.
oh gosh, I never said that because that's not true.
I didn't,
I'm sorry. Maybe I was running my mouth and that's what came out or was heard. That absolutely was never my intent to say anything like that.
so you said the newer studies are showing and then something. So do you want to amend this at all?
Yeah, what I was speaking about was the fact that new data had been put out for the variables that we put into the calculations, and the data was intended to represent the more significant the storms have become, how much more significant the storms have become. So the 100-year, the 25, the 10, all those numbers changed, and those are the numbers that we're using. So I don't know if those numbers are the result of a focused study. I don't know where those numbers came from. I
No,
just
that's
know
okay.
that the procedure changed so that we have to use these numbers that are higher because of the increase in the number of large storms that the state was seeing. And that was
So-
the point of what I was saying.
Thank you. Can I offer you an amendment to the statement that you stated that the newer studies take into account the greater occurrence of intense storms?
Can we get rid of the word studies? Because I don't know anything about studies or anything. I just know that the state is issued new data as part of the Speedies program that needs to be used, that has to be used. They introduced new data and a new procedure.
Okay.
So the procedure and the formula changed, right?
I don't believe the formula changed. The procedure changed in terms of the data that you use to put into the calculations. So the I number used to be like 4.2 inches per hour, and that was based on a nomograph and a map, whatever. Now you put in the X and the Y coordinate of your exact project, and it gives you the intensity and the inches per hour based on the design storm for your particular location. And those numbers are higher than they were when we originally submitted, because those numbers were put out with the intent to represent the changes that are happening in the storms now. So we were told that that was because the 100-year storms are happening more and more frequent. So
Yeah, I got it. So what did I say? What do you think?
Savard stated that the newer data is reflective of the greater occurrence of these intense storms,
Okay,
or something like that.
yeah, so I mean.
yeah, I would agree.
Intensity,
Because of the variables have changed. That, okay.
she's just saying data, so I mean,
Data.
we're quoting her, so I think it was what she's saying, and I do remember her saying data a lot, so.
Yeah, I didn't want to soften it too much. I want that statement. Intense storms was said, obviously.
I mean, I don't know if this is the time to be debating it as we try to change the
No,
minutes, but
no, we have plenty of time in the next discussion to be.
Right, we're
talking
just
about
trying
that.
to capture what she said, so.
I just want to make sure that was, that one is not immemorialized in the minutes if it wasn't said. That's a very strong statement.
Thank you. I'm gonna mute again, but I'm here if you need me.
Okay, thanks, Kristen. Can you read back?
So I'm going to take out the word studies, spoke about newer
Data, I think.
techniques that are being used to calculate future stormwater estimations. I'm unsure of how much you want to remove.
Are you in the paragraph that starts, Savard spoke about newer techniques?
Yes.
Okay, we're on the second or third sentence. Savard stated that.
So the
newer-
first couple sentences are all
Second
right.
sentence, right?
I think the first sentence is fine. And
It
we're
goes,
starting
that's a
with,
big sentence. It goes all the way down
Yeah.
to where we are.
so, and then the second sentence starts with Savard stated that.
Newer data. Is being
Our
used.
count,
Is, yeah. What?
they account for, newer data I account for.
Okay, yep, newer data accounts for. The greater
Intensity of storms,
intensity of storms.
period.
Okay.
I think that is her point. She was saying that the
Yep.
numbers have been updated. And so she wants to
And
say,
increase, we're not making it up.
right, that it accounts for that. And that's a good point.
So that's a shorter sentence.
Yep.
Newer data accounts for greater intensity of storms.
Yeah, but okay.
Okay, so I'm taking out all of the correct.
And then it follows nicely that Howard question the status of the new methods.
So right after that, just go directly to Howard.
Yes.
Okay.
Yep. I mean, when. We there?
Yep. I'm all
Okay,
set
good.
with that
I want to
then.
go to the next page, 3 of 7, and that's the first real paragraph, starting with Mtg reviewed, blah, blah, blah. This is probably a question more than. BZA members asked to see the previous minutes, review where the town of Hector stands regarding the project. Clarify details about the deed restriction and hear further information from legal counsel. We said all that, right? And so did we get clarification
We
from?
can do that.
Right.
We can do that. right?
I want to know if we got clarification from the town of Hector, or is this misstated?
Not heard. Yeah, that can.
Okay, no, that's fine, but we did say it, right? Everyone agrees with it. Thank you. I have no problem with that. The next two paragraphs later, starting again with Tigasin, the last line, discussion ensued on what the next possible steps could be
We forgot to be,
necessary or something, right?
yeah.
Or just
For
be,
this proposal. Next possible steps could be for this proposal.
okay, just add a B for that.
The E.
Thank you. That's good to me. Sorry to take so much time on that. Yeah,
I don't have anything, but it does come to mind that the actual resolutions are probably the most important part, and I always assume those are correct as we did them, or as they came to us.
I wouldn't assume, but I did
I
read
know.
them.
Okay.
I did read it. And we corrected one before, remember?
Yeah, I mean,
Right.
I guess I'd look through them up briefly, but I don't recheck all this stuff. so.
And in fact, we just corrected the one that said, I feel like we didn't say following, depending on the conditions stated below. We really need that in this. I don't know. I look at that as carefully as I look at these. I'm not saying
All
I'm,
right, I don't have anything else for this one.
okay, great. Andy,
I'm good.
Bob?
Yeah, two small comments, both on page 2. In the paragraph that says discussion ensued on the status of the application, et cetera. It says towards the end, Savard believes this is a new hearing because while the project was paused, unbeknownst to the design team, zoning changed through the entire town. And perhaps that's what she said, but it's the timeline is wrong because as it says earlier in the minutes, the pause occurred in 2020 after COVID hit and was because of COVID, and the zoning change occurred in 2019. So maybe if that's what they really said, okay, but it's wrong factually. Maybe want clarification on that.
I noted that that's what was really said.
Okay, it's factually wrong. And in the next paragraph, it says, depending on which variance is being considered, there may be a rehearing, but this will depend on clarifications to be made with legal counsel. I want the minutes to clearly reflect that I believe, I know I said, I believe others said, I believe it's true, that whether it's a rehearing or not is a decision for the BZA to make. And we can take input from whomever, including legal counsel, but it's not a decision to be made by legal counsel. It's a decision to be made by the BZA. And this is ambiguous language, which might imply otherwise.
So what do you want to change?
I would say, depending on which variance is being considered, the BZA may or may not determine to be a rehearing. I mean, it's not, we did say we'd like clarification from legal counsel. We had some other things as well, but it's really not up to counsel.
Yep, we got that. Are you directing Molly with what and where to write?
Probably not adequately, eh?
I think I got it. Just rewrote
Hard enough
it.
to do it when you're sitting in the room remotely is terrible.
Depending on which variance is being considered, the BZA may determine this to be a rehearing, but I didn't change anything after that.
Yeah,
Okay,
that'd be
good.
fine. Works for me.
Yep, good. Thanks, Bob. Anything else? And Tom, you were off doing something else, so I don't know. Okay, you don't have anything to add though that you saw jump out at you. Great, thank you. All right, so do I hear a motion to accept the minutes?
I move that we accept the June minutes.
Seconded, okay, great. We had discussion on it. Let's call that the vote.
Aye.
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 Abstain. And Tom abstains, so he wasn't there. Okay, great. Motion carries. The minutes are accepted, so we're really pretty good. We're in arrears for one. We have one outstanding minutes that we have to go about. Got his assignment. Okay, thanks very much. And thanks for sitting there and listening to all that. Appreciate it. You can see why we kind of put this off. Okay, so tonight's meeting, after what we just did, we're going to be discussing only the 3 upcoming variance requests, and they're upcoming, and we want to take this opportunity to have discussions, to ask you questions for you to present, and don't take that lengthy, detailed analysis of the minutes as a cue that we're gonna be detailed and lengthy about this. So let's move it along and you know, we might say, okay, that's good, that's good. I don't want to hear the whole big PowerPoint presentations and all that stuff. There's a lot of prior knowledge to probably all three of these, so we can move things along, and we'll ask you questions as we go along. Okay, so the first item of business will be the review. The next item is a discussion with the CARS representatives who have agreed to all of our previous stipulations, is what I understand, and including the 500-year flood foundation. And I just wanted to, here's the gist of the variance. The application, the applicant and property owner, Alpha House, Ithaca Alpha House Center, Inc., proposes to construct a new 2-story detached building, approximately 13,385 gross square feet, for use as a 25-bed facility associated with the existing Cayuga Addiction Recovery Services building on the subject site. 2 area variances are currently requested from the board for the BZA as part of the special permit and site plan review with and a bunch of codes for that. Okay, so the limits that are permitted are only one. Well, let's start with the first, limited maximum floor area of a new non-agricultural building of 5,000 square feet. And also only one principal building on the site. So that's what you're, with the variance is for, right? So, yeah.
Yes, sir.
Okay, great, yeah. And Ms. March is here representing, is that right? Good to see you back again, too.
Good to see you as well.
Uh-huh.
And I got up to speed a little bit by going through the meeting minutes.
Good. Yeah, right, exactly. I hope you did.
Happy to say that we don't have to wrestle with the issue of rehearing with regard to.
Yeah, we're gonna discuss that a little bit and
Sure.
like, oh, is it rehearing or not? But I think that we have 2 new items here is my interpretation. Is that yours?
Exactly. So there's 2 new area variances that were not needed when we were here before you in 2019. And those changes are needed because of the intervening zone change for the property. And
Mhm.
as you properly summarized for us, it's the fact that there will be 2 principal buildings, and also the second principal building will be greater than 5,000 square feet. And I just want to make sure, does everybody have the summary?
Yes.
Wonderful, good.
You have it?
Great. And then also, we have a copy of the restrictive covenant, which was the condition for the other area variance, and Terry Pollock is here, my partner from Hancock Estrop that actually worked on that restrictive covenant with your
Mhm.
prior attorney.
Right.
And what questions do you have for us?
Oh, good. Wow, that's brief. All
It's-
right.
You
Like
you
that.
summarized it perfectly.
Okay, good. I want to start first with, we had a lengthy discussion, you weren't here for that, but about, well, is it a rehearing? Is it not a rehearing? And now things have changed. It looks like the application has changed, or at least you know, your desired, what you want to do here.
Yes.
So Bob, I want to leave it to you because have you start with this. Do you still feel strongly about any kind of rehearing, or are we done with that consideration?
Let me answer that, but also make a comment or a question that's related to it.
Okay.
To me, the reason it might have been considered a rehearing was if we were being asked to reconsider the stormwater runoff issues. And, you know, we stipulated going with a 500-year flood. The application came back this time saying that they wanted that changed. And if they really wanted that changed, I would think that would be a rehearing. But what I'm hearing now is that the applicant has decided not to do that. They're okay with the stipulation we made before on that. So at least in that regard, it's not a rehearing, in my opinion. The issue that I don't know if now's the right time to say it or not, but it's I think we need to talk about it. At least I need to get it off my chest. You know, we put 2 restrictions on this decision originally. One was the 500-year flood. The other was the deed restriction. And at least my thinking when we put that deed restriction in place, and we did this over multiple meetings and multiple months. My thought, and I thought a majority of us agreed, was that with the the size of the new buildings on the lot in Ulysses would simply not be acceptable if that were the only land. But because you can consider the land in Hector as well, that there's a community good of protecting that land as open land while allowing a heavier building in Ulysses. And the town boundary is sort of arbitrary from the viewpoint of either water flows or view sheds, if you will. But the deed restriction, as we're looking at it now, as it was apparently negotiated by the town attorney, to my mind, does not reflect what we required from the BZA, which was a permanent restriction on development and subdivision of that land. That's not what the deed restriction now says, and I would have a hard time. I'm not sure how that change was made. I don't believe it ever came back to the BZA. I don't think it's what we intended, and I'm troubled by it. Let me phrase it that way. But I'd let others weigh in because that's my memory of the situation.
Thanks, Bob. So let me take the first item, the first consideration of the rehearing, and can I run it by all of us?
Well,
Would you agree with that?
I've got another thought on it. I wasn't here for this lengthy discussion last month of the 500. But 3 years and 9 months ago, we said a 500-year plan has to be put in place. Not that all construction has to happen, but we have to have a plan.
Mhm.
Do we have a plan yet?
Yes, we do.
We do.
We do.
When did we establish that plan?
That was submitted last week, and so that is now incorporated into
Okay,
the
so
site plan.
3 years and 9 months to make a plan. I know COVID was in there, but lots of planning went on during it. So I'm skeptical that the plan will actually happen if it took that long, even just to make the
Well,
plan.
can I
The
ask?
project was on hold.
What?
The project was on hold.
I think
The
that,
project
is
may
this
have
the
been
same
on
one?
hold. But that doesn't stop somebody from making a plan.
Well, I think it was
when they
done
go
then.
ahead.
I feel like it was done then, back then.
Yes,
The
it was part of
500-year
the
plan.
design associated with.
Was
the
it done
construct-
back then?
The construction, yes, and that was actually part of the approval. It was
Last time we
actually
talked, you had put forth that this is the 500-year, we.
correct, and
accepted.
it was exact, and that was part of the site plan, so the approval referenced the design up to the 500-year in 2019. So when we came back last month, that design was not there, but it has been revised. It has been submitted.
And has
and
it
it does-
changed? Has it changed? I mean, is it moved?
No, the building itself is the same. It's how you manage the stormwater, but
Okay.
those plans have been updated and submitted, so
And
they now show the.
Do you know,
500-year.
did you look at the plan? I didn't compare the two, but you actually had to move it away because you also had a new information with the stream buffer you had to stay away from. You know,
I don't know the answer.
okay, so it's not the same exact plan, but I just wanted to.
Yep, but
Yeah,
it-
I remember that.
I know we got a
They
lot of
came back,
information, but 5 minutes before the meeting
Right,
and
but
couldn't really go through
several
this.
years ago, they had relinquished to that and then actually provided the plan.
I just didn't want to look at a new variance if the old variance still hadn't been complied with.
Yeah.
But if it has been, that's great.
What else? Anything else in that? So do you feel like it was a rehearing? To just kind of finish that. This is a rehearing at all? Are we doing 2 new variances?
We're doing 2 new variances. And if we have had that variance complied with, then
Okay,
I'm okay with it.
great. Cheryl? I'm just piecemealing this so we can be done with one part of the conversation.
I thought we were talking about the deed restrictions, so I'm confused now.
Well, it was brought up and we had a long lengthy discussion last time, whether this was indeed a rehearing in any portion, could we piecemeal it, and what if we're doing 2 or not? But now they've come back and said, oh, no, we're not asking for that.
Right,
We're just putting forth some new requests, and we're
Yeah.
relinquishing to all the things that were requested to pass.
okay, so we're not following through on Bob's question about the
Not
deed
yet,
restrictions.
that's the
Okay.
second one, that was part 2.
Okay. No, I'm okay with it being 2 new things. I mean, you brought up that maybe we didn't ever have an actual,
We can-
Resolution.
I would like to talk about that in a little bit, but
but I don't know if that affected. I mean, it's a new
That was part of the
Request for hearing.
deep questions we asked the lawyer too, like, well, what if it didn't ever get resolved, but if it wasn't, like, this is really rehearing, but you're okay to call not it.
Yeah, it's moderated.
Andy? Rehearing?
Right.
Maybe. Okay, all right. I also do not think it's rehearing, so I think we're all in agreement, Bob, that this is not a rehearing, right?
I'm fine with that. Thank you.
Okay, great. Just wanted to get rid of that. Okay, now let's talk about the second part. Cheryl, you want to take that on?
Rehearing.
The covenant, the restricted covenant.
No, I didn't realize that it wasn't, that's Bob,
It's me too.
okay, but
Um,
I didn't realize that it wasn't matching our original plan, so that's you guys.
Well,
Well,
I think, yeah,
If I can just
Sure,
kind of
yes, you
give
can.
a big,
Yeah,
give
yeah,
a big picture
please.
on that. What likely happened was the negotiation on restricted covenant was with the attorneys, and it sounds like it never came back to
that's right.
the BZA.
And so I wanted to ask everybody before we jumped on that, and
Yeah.
as a fact,
Sure,
there's one person. You remember it ever coming back to us and we made a resolution on this?
No.
Do you remember it ever coming back? Do you remember it ever coming back and we made a resolution? Do you remember after it went to, we keep calling it negotiation, which is a very strong word.
No, I don't remember,
Yeah,
but that
okay.
doesn't, mean it doesn't happen, I mean.
Oh, no.
I don't think it came back, because if it had come back, I would have been here.
You would have, and it would have been, and we all would have talked about it and we would have passed a resolution, which we didn't.
Yeah,
and
I'm not aware that it.
I,
came back.
I poured through and I unfortunately have all my records of everything and I poured through all of that. It's fully supported that never came back to us. So I don't know if we're calling it a negotiation when there's no agreement at the end of it, and to say it was negotiated is a connotation of it was
Sure.
agreed upon. I feel like it wasn't agreed upon, and there are a couple, so starting from there, and I'm not attacking or anything, I say starting from there, let's figure out what we want to say in this thing, because we never got our, to put our final statement on whatever the,
Right, it sounds like your attorney didn't kind of go.
oh, no, it was never, the loop was never closed, never came back, and then we never had actually had a resolution.
Yep.
So we don't have a standing resolution, we don't really have one to go on and say, oh, but we do have all the data, all the things that we said. Bob, do you want to reiterate what you said about I think it's one part of one clause in there, one paragraph, or.
Yeah, well, I don't have the negotiated thing before me, but let me make a point, we discussed this at some length in more than one BZA meeting, and again, I thought we were quite clear in what the deed restriction was, which was a permanent prohibition on any subdivision or development of the portion of the lot that's in the town of Hector, Schuyler County. And quite frankly, it seems inappropriate for for the town attorney to then negotiate that. It's a decision for the BZA to make, not the town attorney. No one else in the town, no other authority in the town has the ability to change what we were trying to do at the BZA. So I'm troubled by that, quite frankly. And I don't think that the draft that we're seeing now reflects what we intended then. But we're not bound by that. I suppose we can rethink what we're doing. But in the context of rethinking it, because of the change in the zoning, the issue of lot coverage within the portion of the property that's in the town of Ulysses is now more extreme than it was before, which makes to my mind, even more pressing need to offset it in some way if we go along with it at all. But we can also. It's of interest, I think, that the town board, when they changed the zoning, decided to put greater restrictions on this property, which is what they did with that change. I think that's pertinent to our discussion as well.
Okay, thanks. I think you had a statement there. It's, or it can be negotiated now. So I think I want to put to you, can we negotiate a little bit here?
Of course we
Not
can.
going on.
Of course.
Oh,
If I-
absolutely. Oh,
Because here's one that
Introduce
actually
yourself,
worked
sir.
on that. Can I just ask,
I remember.
Bob, I'm not sure, to see my face this way or do I turn?
I'm
that way?
seeing the back of your head, Buck. I hear you.
Okay.
Just
Back of your head, yeah.
I'm a little slow on the math side, so I just want to understand, because there's actually less lot coverage now on the map, for the lot coverage, so I just want to understand the mathematical.
Yeah, it wasn't the lot coverage you were talking about, was it, Bob? You're talking-
Maybe, I might be confused on that, but
You just can't have another primary building.
Because I don't think the lot coverage changed, but I just wanted to make sure if I'm incorrect on that, because there's
no,
actually.
that sounds like I was confused on that. My bad.
I'll double check it, of course, but I just wanted to ask that, and then Gary, shall I-
The point I was trying to make, and I guess I misstated it, is that when the town decided to change the zoning for that property, that they put more restrictions on than were there when we had made our first decision.
Yep, agreed, but they're kind of different, so that's what
Right.
gets us to.
So I misstated what the differences are, right?
Carrie, can you introduce yourself? please?
Sure. Hi, everybody. My name is Carrie Collins and I'm a partner.
Ms.
I,
Collins, thank you.
I don't know if this.
Yeah, just so we can get that on the record.
I don't do land use, so all of the procedural things, I can't speak about that on your behalf, but I will say that we've all been trying to recreate what happened all these months ago because it was so long. And also COVID seemed to totally void my memory. But today, I found correspondence from Attorney Ciccone
Mhm.
indicating that the deed restriction, two things. My email was an email to John Zepko, copying Attorney Ciccone, with two statements from oral discussions that she and I had. One was that we would finalize the deed restriction prior to the issuance of the building permit because we weren't sure that the project was going to go ahead. And the second was she indicated that it was going to require a public notice and a public hearing to finalize. And so I told her that our design team would come back to me 30 to 60 days in advance of requesting the building permit so that we could come to you to finalize that. I think that that's a missing piece that my memory certainly did not supply. So with respect to the restriction as it's here, as opposed to a prohibition of all building rights on the entitled parcel.
Mhm.
I don't recall what we said when I was here, but I know we discussed the deed restriction. But I remember our argument being, and I don't think we need to do this right now necessarily, depending on what you all agree how to handle the deed restriction, was that the project would only be appropriate if we could include the entire parcel,
Correct,
including the Hector Lane.
correct.
And I didn't want to require cars to be limited in terms of its lot coverage in the future. If that lot coverage requirement was inconsistent with zoning that was then applicable, if that makes sense. So instead of saying no building restrictions on the parcel, instead saying that for zoning purposes for each of town of Ulysses and the town of Hector, both municipalities would consider the two separate parcels as one, so that if any future development would always be considered in accordance with applicable lot coverage requirements at that time.
That's not what, you didn't have the justification in there. You did have that stipulation. You
That's
said
right.
that for number one, I would, they should be considered as one lot or something. I don't think you had a rationale for that, did you?
No,
Okay, I mean,
no,
you
it
just added
does
some.
not look like Attorney Ciccone and I thought that we should include that here.
Right.
I don't have any problem including that, so that's all I had to offer to make this.
No, that's great. So but I want to check with you. I think that supports what we said, that it didn't go further. We didn't have a resolution. It never came back to us. So all of our memories didn't get wiped out by COVID as you feared. But
Previous comments made by me, to my team, that it was approved was
Yeah.
because Attorney Ciccone had approved it,
sure,
so. But
and
no,
negotiated and approved, they're all, they
That's
carry
right.
connotations,
that's
but
right.
it wasn't, and we didn't have a resolution, which is really important to this board. here.
It's consistent
Right.
with your understanding.
So I think and supports it really well. The first condition was that they are to be considered. I didn't see that by both counties. I didn't see that. Is that what you have? Both towns, both counties too,
Oh,
right?
yeah, oh, yeah.
Yeah, both towns. Did you have that somewhere? Did I miss that?
It's not both counties. If I said that, I apologize.
No, I don't know if you did. I
Paragraph
just-
3 refers to the town of Ulysses and the town of Hector. It puts the burden on cars to work with Ulysses and Hector. We're trying to kind of pull them all together in paragraph 3.
Yeah, okay, all right, I just don't, I just thought this was an agreement with the town of Ulysses, and I didn't see anything where, Hector was included in the agreements.
Hector is not a party. What we say here is that cars is first gonna obtain the consent of the town of Ulysses for anything. in
Oh, agreed. Yeah, okay.
If that makes any sense.
Oh, yeah, no.
So that the.
And I'm
parcels-
fine with that, and, so I'm okay with that, is everybody okay with that? I think we can piecemeal with considering them as one property, yes?
Yes.
I'm not sure that the other county is okay with it, but, you might want to deal with that.
Right, but I
I-
think
I always have a
the
question.
whole point, though,
Thank you. It's. The point is to appease your organization,
For
so.
now, yeah,
So if cars were to apply, and please feel free to correct me, but not always clear. If car were to apply for development in Hector,
yeah,
they're promising you that they will consider both parcels together, including all improvements constructed on both parcels together.
and not only that.
who's
they
they,
would
cars
have to
is,
have Approval.
who's the
Cars
they in
first
this
need
case?
to have your approval, correct, in order to even pursue it in the town.
So whether Hector cares or not, doesn't matter,
Yeah.
we're actually limiting cars as the applicant.
You're making it be superseding anything, it
That's good.
precedes anything else
That's
in
good.
that. I'm okay with that statement, are you, Bob?
No, I'm not.
Just the one that has been considered as one property, no?
No, I'm okay with that, but again, I am sure that what we stipulated in our resolution back in 2019 was that there would be no further development on that portion of the property in Hector, period. Not that there'd be some process for it in the future. I never would have agreed to that.
Yeah, I'm not interrupting you, but I just wanted to take the low hanging fruit, and I thought that one stipulation, the one considering as one property. Is okay with me, and I was wondering if it's okay with the rest of y'all.
If that's the question, yes.
Sure.
I certainly remember it that way.
Yes, Andy? Yeah. Okay, Bob, you said yes?
Yes, on that narrow grounds,
Now I
yes.
want to deal with the elephant. I think this is the elephant. Those words were really soft. How you just said it again, how you ask our approval and all that stuff. Here's the wording that we've been putting in. Can I just take a moment while I read this to you? Very recent. A deed restriction prohibiting any further subdivision of the property we did. As delineated on the survey, blah, blah, blah. And herein carries with it, with the property forever. Okay, so we want to make a strong statement. We want to make this a rule, not you get to request us anything you want. It's a rule, and then of course you come to ask for a variance when you're outside that. So the wording is a little bit too soft, and I think we've all gone, well, that's a little bit.
And now we're crossing between our
Yeah.
little areas.
Yeah.
So, no, that's fine, because I think what you just said is that if it says no development, we could come back to you for a variance.
Always.
But see, now we're into Carrie's legal deed restriction world, and I don't know that the ZBA would be able to vary it. So that now we're in real estate. But
I wish.
I think we understand what you're looking for, and I think we've gotta look at that, because we're
Yeah.
looking for a straight up prohibition. And what the board believes is that, let's say in the future, there is a decision to do something in Hector, which of course it's not planned now, but we never know what the future.
Yeah,
is.
sure.
This board believes that they would be able to change that restriction. But since it's in the deeds, this board is not going to have the authority to change that.
They would be able to have the authority to change it, but we would have. We would have to go through this exact process again, or whatever document. We can amend things that are in the title.
Okay, but would it be because it would benefit the entire municipality, wouldn't you need the town board?
I
So-
don't know.
So we understand what you're looking for.
Oh, I really,
Absolutely understand.
I feel like we're the authority on that. The town board makes suggestions, but we're the authority on that, aren't we? Don't
If
you
it
appeal?
was a traditional variance. I would
Don't you
say
just
yes, but
appeal and then you come to us for the appeal? with the appeal?
Because it's part of the title, that's what
It's-
I'm wrestling with.
It is true that the town of Ulysses, whoever is the town of Ulysses,
It
is
benefits,
the benefited party under this restricted covenant.
Right,
And so I think we would have to probably articulate a procedure to address future changes within the instrument itself.
because everybody benefits from it, it's not just this board, so that's what I'm kind of wrestling with in my.
And would that constitute a rehearing then
No, it's completely outside, I mean, it would be,
of the original agreement?
but because this is title, it's a different kind of legal animal that I don't think I had wrapped around yet.
because it's not zoning or something like that.
Exactly, it's something that's actually in
I
the
wish
title
Dave were here
that
tonight.
benefits the entire town, so I think that's probably why you guys actually negotiated what would happen if there was that, like the legal instrument itself says that. As because if it's a straight up prohibition, we need to work through what that would look like, and honestly, because this is something that benefits the entire municipality, this board would not have the authority to change that.
Mhm.
The question is whether or not the town board would have the ability, but I think we can. wrestle with that.
I think that that's true. I think that that's an ambiguity right now that I have about who would have authority to change this.
But we understand the issue.
Yeah, right. And I think
And I think.
we felt like, I'm not speaking for Bob, but I felt like, oh, you're just giving yourself some wiggle room here
Yeah.
and you're changing the words. And I didn't think it was intentional necessarily, but kind of is. because-
Yeah.
But I like what you're saying. It's like, it's not the same as its zoning
It is,
regulation or.
if you remember correctly, way back, and I remember Carrie, you and David going back and forth, because he's a real estate attorney as
That's
well,
right,
and I
that's right.
remember there was. I don't think we got into this detail, but I mean, it's over, I do your type of law, I don't do that type of law.
Right.
So, but I do remember Carrie and David having some
Yeah,
conversations.
I kind of have some notes somewhere saying, oh, David was like, well, it's kind of
It is,
a different
it's-
animal. It's a different animal when you start doing the deed restriction.
Yeah.
I have two questions to ask, pushing up against what I'm hearing is the requirement, and I just want to articulate those questions so that we're all very clear about what you're asking for, if that's okay. One is, so you
Could you
want
come
to,
up and speak to the
oh,
microphone?
sure. I
Oh, yeah,
apologize.
just because it's got to go on recording anyway.
Sorry, I feel so rude having my back to everybody, but, and I don't know how much acreage there is in Hector. My recollection is it's around 8 acres.
How many?
I don't,
No, way more. than-
way more than that,
Yeah,
I'm sorry, I
30
don't,
ish.
30
It's in the 30 range, right?
So. On behalf of my client, I would like my client to be able to sell land if ultimately they're not using it. It's not required. Not the right word. If the sale of a parcel, by the way, no one has brought this up. This is just a real estate.
Oh, I know.
attorney
And you're
trying to
leaving some
solve future problems.
Options in the future, right?
What happens if we move forward 15 years
Mhm.
and cars can make money by sending some of that land, and by doing so, they're still in compliance with all applicable lot coverage requirements with these two parcels together? Is that something you want to prohibit now, or is that something that you're okay with allowing them that freedom?
I have an opinion. Anybody else want to voice theirs?
I do. I mean, you sell the whole parcel of that in Hector and. Is that what you're saying? That's a possibility?
No, my question is,
Preserve
I'm
the
just gonna
option
use an example. if
Preserve the
that's
option
okay.
to sell the whole parcel,
or
perhaps,
any part of the parcel.
or any part after
Sell a
that.
portion of the parcel such that the remaining Ulysses parcel and Hector parcel that remains are sufficient to meet applicable lot coverage requirements in both municipalities.
That's not, but lot coverage isn't the only variance, right?
No, it
No, there was-
isn't. It's the
Not
two
covered, yeah.
buildings.
That was a two.
Steve, a point of order. Are we in a hearing or are we in an informal discussion, and what are we
No,
doing?
I would like for us to come up with an agreement that what you're gonna go find out, and you're gonna come back and give us some information, right? On at least that, like what's the legality and all that. you know.
Yeah,
David's not here, so we don't have a real legal scholar here.
So
and
we're just giving our informal opinions now. They're not binding, of course, because we're not in a hearing, right?
And
that
then there
correct?
also, I think this is a valid question, and I, did you answer it, by the way? Would you consider that?
I would I consider,
You posed a question, your question was, is that acceptable or not.
Yes.
Have you reserved your client, reserve the option to
Would they
sell
be
and
able to?
parcelize and all that? Is
I
that
have
okay?
more questions, so I would know at this point.
It sounds, if you're still meeting the coverage requirements. I have no problem with some of that land being sold off, so I'm just still meeting the coverage requirement.
I don't think
Cheryl?
there is a coverage requirement.
I don't think,
anymore.
well, there was, but.
There was,
there still is.
but we're
There
doing a
still
new
is.
thing.
And we're doing two other things, so we're not just talking about coverage, we're
Yeah,
talking about an additional building
Right,
and.
but just,
2.5
the only
times
question she's asking. Is if this project happens and at some point in the future, they want to sell off a couple of acres.
Yeah.
But they're still within the requirements that are laid out, I have no problem with that.
No, but they're not, because they're already got an extra building and they have
Yeah.
2.5 times as much square footage. So.
Right.
We're
So if
deciding
they
that
do
now.
that-
We're deciding that now.
If they do all of that construction.
Yeah.
And it meets coverage requirements. If we haven't had to vary the coverage requirements.
Yeah.
Then if they sell off some acres and they still meet the coverage requirements,
This coverage though, there's two more items though. It doesn't meet the other requirements, so does it?
I'm not talking about, I'm only trying to respond to the question that was asked.
I think it's the wrong question to ask personally, but that's why I asked what we're doing here. It's not,
Yeah.
hopefully we're not negotiating outside of a hearing. I don't think that that's appropriate, so I'm not quite sure what we're doing.
Yeah, sure.
okay, so that paragraph number 3, I do remember talking about that,
Yep.
where it said, and we did talk about which approval may be withheld, or for which the approval may be withheld for any valid municipal purpose in the town's sound discretion. And I think there was a little bit more qualifiers there. I guess just valid municipal purpose. I mean, we talked about that. I think this is what we talked about. And I think it's fine as written. Like, I don't think we need
You
to
think
change it.
we agreed to this?
Yeah.
That's not my recollection.
But you don't remember talking about that, how
I
to
remember talking about
qualify?
this, but I don't think I would ever have agreed to this.
I remember talking about what phrases to use for that. I'm sure the lawyers made them a little bit better, but I think that's basically what we talked about.
My notes do indicate I drafted this before you.
Yeah.
And it's not bad. I mean, I don't think there's any problem. There's not, like, you foresee that being a problem where they get more rights than we need them to have with this written.
Yeah, I think, because our objective was to preserve the open space. And that was seen as a real benefit to us. To outweigh, it's not mitigation, it's like, and it's not punishment, it's just to outweigh what we're allowing you to do, which is really densify. And now we're going into like 3 or 4 or 3 different criteria that go against, that you need variances for, right? At least 3, is that right?
Okay, so
So-
is open space or whatever you're looking for,
Yeah.
is that a valid municipal purpose?
Yes,
Yeah, so we would. be
it's
open
part of
to that.
our, it's part of our mandate.
Right,
for
so
our-
then this,
Okay,
that's-
no.
our objective.
You'd say no.
right,
And I think that's probably what you're probably remembering is Carrie and David kind of going through, well, you know, like there has to be a relief valve, you know.
May I suggest this is a hypothetical that is just derailing where we're trying to get to, and we've got some other people who have things to hear. And I think if it's a hypothetical, you would come back to us with it if it ever becomes a reality.
I know, because we were talking about solar panels or something like that. I think there was a possibility of needing to put something on that property.
I'm not sure where to take this, but do we have anything, we're gonna have that hearing and we would like to have you all come back with some,
I think I'm informed enough to make sure that we're prepared.
okay, but you're gonna inform us a little bit too, right?
Oh, yes, of course.
I mean,
We'll be here in front of you.
because that's a good question you had, like, oh, does it really restrict you that much that, and we can't do anything about it? There's no relief from this board? That's a good question.
Yeah.
I would like to answer.
Absolutely, and we'll
If
get
there's
you,
relief from this board, I want to go with what we say, which is like the deed restriction prohibiting any further subdivision. something straightforward like that. And then you can come back and appeal, just like as always.
And that's what I need to work through and we'll work
okay.
it through with you. We'll give you our opinion. Obviously, your attorney is hearing this all as well. And
Yeah.
I'm sure we'll have some guidance and advice for you. as
Yeah,
well.
that would be great. No, that would really be great. And I appreciate you coming and sharing your recollection with us. And no, I don't really recollect this, agreeing to these words. Certainly, I mean, I think at least a few of us reacted to this strongly, so I'm not sure we did.
Well, I think you guys had a lot of things to react to finally at the last meeting, so we're hoping to narrow.
No, that's
the
good.
issue.
I'm really glad that you're going back to the 500 year and one parcel. I'm all for that, and I think that other people are too, right? Sounds like. Bob, you have any final requests from this group before we meet next time?
No, I just, no, I think I made my position clear. And for the record, I do not believe that the document that we've been presented with reflects what the BZA decided back in 2019.
Okay. So we want to go over that, I guess, at the hearing, right?
Right.
Good. Are we okay? Thank you very much. Really appreciate you coming.
Any other questions?
I don't know.
On the other
Any other-
two area
any other-
variances?
don't-
Variances are,
Is
is
it
it the extra building and
And
the,
the size of it.
Yeah.
They kind of, they work so closely together. That's why I really
Oh,
put
I
the
know.
justification.
I have something, I don't think this got into our resolution, but I know we requested some responsiveness to the neighbors who were
Okay.
always at the meetings and always practically crying.
Mhm.
And I really feel bad about that, that they
And
are
you
still
actually
not,
said-
I don't know if that ever happened. I haven't heard from them since the meetings, but they
Sure.
had not gotten any good.
Yeah, no,
answers.
you're right. I will follow up on that because I know that, the client was handling that directly. And I know they
Right.
did have a fair amount of outreach. And I think it ultimately ended up well,
Okay.
especially when
That would
we
be
got the
very good.
approval.
That
Yes.
would be, help me
Yes.
to. do that.
Absolutely, and also, putting out the public hearing, that's gonna be helpful as well, just to, be able to pull out any. information
Yeah, if
that
they
way.
come in with a
Yeah.
more positive thing to say,
Absolutely,
because they are taking the brunt of this. I mean, it's definitely a good thing for the world to have this project, but for them, it's not so great in that little neighborhood.
great, we'll be sure to have that outreach. and
Yeah,
have
that's
some
good.
answers
I'm
for
glad you
you.
brought that up, because I
Yeah.
remember we talked about that. You said, and we were assured that you're gonna
Yes,
launch a campaign of some sort.
yes,
Not
and I-
her, but the
Yeah.
people who.
Yeah,
work
your
there.
clients,
Yeah,
actually.
yeah, like-
Good, you okay? Thank you very much. Really
Great.
appreciate it.
and
we'll see you
hopefully
soon.
you do have the plans, with the 500-year flood, and
We do.
and I guess
We all got.
I'm gonna throw this out here.
Compressed.
So can we go back to the planning board and talk through the details? Will we be able to do that, or do we have to stay in lockstep? And I know I've been speaking with your planner on this. Because the planning board had heard, the original project and then ultimately handled the seeker issue. And we would like to get back to the planning board and talk to them about the 500-year, storm details. And, start to move that process forward to see what other questions they might. And I didn't know if you guys had a strong opinion on that, but we would like to be doing these in tandem, because really. Kind of the nature of this project, it's really kind of an all or nothing.
Mhm.
Just the nature of the building and the size of the building, so, we really would like to, engage with the planning board as well.
And the planning board said you gotta be aware of the buffer that was not acknowledged before the
Yes,
last meeting, and I think it is now, and they okayed the storm retention system that you had, which was less than this one,
you're right,
so. Yeah, I mean, I don't see that they're gonna be a big barrier. Anybody have a problem with continuing to go with planning board back to?
So the storm retention system is the same one that we
500
had.
year.
it's 500 years.
So it's based on the
It's kind of
500-year
basic.
fund that was.
Well, I mean, it had to, because the building's a little bit smaller, they had to do,
I
their
think they moved it to.
calculations and stuff, I mean, way above my
I
head.
don't really want to bring this up because I feel like it's,
Please do.
but
Throw it out there.
Kristen was saying there's a new number
Yep.
used for the new 500-year flood. I think. it
No,
was-
no, she said new 100.
200, yeah.
That was her.
That was kind of the basis of her argument, was that, because the 100 is now.
All right, so
much
we're
more
going with the
conservative.
old number for the old
500.
500-year flood. Okay,
Yes.
good.
Yes,
Done.
yes. Okay, Good.
Okay. We good? Did I miss
So
anything?
Bob, are you okay with them continue? Are you okay with them?
Yes.
Go to the planning board too, at the same time?
I don't think we have any say over that, really. Do we?
Okay. No.
You
No,
guys have say over everything.
no, we don't.
No, we don't.
I did want to check that, you know, just it. Oh,
I mean, it
also,
makes sense. It makes sense.
thank you.
Thank you.
Great.
Thanks for doing this thing. Being patient. Okay, speaking of patience. Yes, I will. I think the next item. No. we can start. Who's there right now?
The trend.
Next item.
Pardon?
Oh, the tram.
That's, what it is.
No, but I wonder, I think the tram is on
Zoom.
Zoom. So actually, what I wanted to do is make the next item be the people who are here, and that's the discussion with Jacksonville Park, folks. Application by Pete Angie, and on behalf of the owner, Jacksonville Community Association, Inc. Proposes to construct improvements to Jacksonville Community Park, including an off-street parking area and path in order to improve accessibility and use of the park. 3 area variances are requested from the board, the BZA, as part of the overall special permit and site plan review with planning board. Reduction of the 100 foot minimum required stream buffer required under the code. So. And we'll get this out of the way here. And for 25 foot for the proposed ADA off-street parking area, reduction of the 100 foot minimum required storm buffer required under the CTU. And reduction of the 100 foot minimum required stream and wetland buffers required under another for an existing ADA compliant restroom. The planning board was briefed and you met with them last night, right?
That is correct.
Mr. Angie, you want to tell us what they, just give us a summary of that and then what your plans are here, and then we'll open it up to communication and questions.
Absolutely, great. So thank you for your time tonight.
Thank you.
I am Pete Angie. I'm a resident of Jacksonville. I've been on the Jacksonville Community Association since 2017. And I've been chair of the board there since that time. JCA has been in existence since 1960. We entered an MOU with the town of Ulysses in 2019, following a community-wide review of what people wanted to see with the future of the park. There was a lot of demand for a restroom in the park. We worked with a group from Cornell. We did 3 community meetings at the Methodist Church and restroom to enable people to do events like graduation parties, picnics, things like that. Things that are a little bit more than just walking it up. And so on consult with the town planner at the time and code officer, pursued a permit for a wastewater treatment system. Health department cited our restroom and wastewater treatment system. And with some grants from the county, grants from the town, volunteer labor and volunteer donations, we were able to bring in water to the park, construct the pad, construct the restroom. And at this point, where we are tonight is seeking the 3 variances that you mentioned. Now, primarily, we want to make the restroom and the pavilion accessible to members of the park with limited mobility. There's currently a parking area right next to the pond. It's the best piece of real estate in the park to have a picnic, and it's gravel and cars parked there. And it's from the moment I walked in there, I thought this is a waste of space. I'd like to see this be somewhere with picnic tables, benches, etc., that you could easily walk to from the pavilion. So our plan, our idea is to take the existing parking area and really not increase its size, but to shift it over to the other side of the road that comes in, the other side of the driveway. People already park on the other side of the driveway. You can see from the pictures, there's kind of a mix of dirt and gravel and grass there. Parking is kind of a mess there. There's nothing really formal. We'd like to formalize it, make the flow of parking a little bit
smoother, a little bit more controlled. And then also to make this area, the pavilion connected to the pond, to connect to the pond, connected to the restroom with a path that's accessible, so that, that takes into account the slope, takes into account the surface of the path, all those kinds of things. So that's why we're here tonight, because the existing parking lot is, that violates the buffer as well. Shifting it over away from the pond, now it violates that, that intermittent stream buffer. So looking at the other areas of the park, really the only part of the park that doesn't violate that buffer is the playing field, the event field, like the part of the park where you would have a concert, where you have, a soccer game, where you have, if you're gonna have a large picnic. And that's also gonna be where the leach field placement area is. So it's really, it would really have a significant impact on the park to move the parking into that area. And it would also increase the length of the driveway, which would increase permeable surface, exponentially, more than creating this gravel area, the parking. The parking area would be 6 inches deep, permeable surface of gravel. I would like to do some plantings around it, that's like a water catchment. And that really sums up, the project. And why we seek the variances here.
Thanks for sharing the vision. I like that.
We got communication. You don't know if that's appropriate at this point.
From
I think we got a communication at the last minute at 6:30 or something, right? Neil sent out.
I didn't see it, but we got a communication. with the
Oh,
public.
comment letter.
Comment, yeah.
It was tandem with the planning boards. There was one comment letter that was submitted for both the planning board and the BZA. So when you review that,
I read it.
you're just gonna have to, the board's gonna just have to parse out the elements that are related to the variances, because there's elements that are related to or under the purview of the planning board.
And I could honestly respond to some of the comments in the letter.
I haven't seen it. I haven't read it.
I haven't read it either, but
So,
we will at some point.
It's blasphemy.
Well,
No,
I
it's
just
okay.
think there's one
There's
thing that I left out, which is take some of that excavated material from the path.
Yeah.
And to make a short berm, because people, if you don't put something in the way, people will just drive up the way there's always park. So to create a short berm doesn't block sight of the pond, it doesn't block, the view shed when you come in. But, maybe a item, we got people from driving up to the pond where they've always parked, and then take some of that soil from the excavated path. And sort of reclaim that area next to the pond that's currently the gravel pitch where people park, and seed it with grass. And sort of use some of the gravel that's already there to enable a path, up to the pond. So that's the other part. That was something that was mentioned in that letter. They said, oh, with this berm, we won't be able to see the pond
Oh, I agree.
or the willow, and I'm like, well, you'll be able to see the pond in the middle.
All right, I mean, we read all those before the hearing and we take it under advisement, I guess.
Yeah.
We said, yep. it's-
I'm unfamiliar with your process,
Mhm.
since you've got a comment, we just got today as well. Is it appropriate, or when and how is it appropriate to respond? There are some,
During the hearing,
during the hearing,
yeah, well,
we
yeah, really.
could respond to
Sure.
say that's.
If we ask for a response, sometimes we just acknowledge it and. It's not a popularity contest, is the way we always take it. So, if somebody says something negative, and a couple other people, we definitely, it's part of the weighting scheme, but it's just one of many variants. So,
Just from my understanding of the BCA, this is sort of like a sketch plot review, like how the planning board has a sketch plot review. Take questions,
Yep.
and then it will just be followed by a public hearing.
yes,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Yep.
Yeah, and the only reason is that, we're just not, well, for a lot of reasons, but we're, the public hearing, I guess we'll schedule for next time.
Sounds good.
Unless there are materials that we want right now from you, that'll take longer than that, or if you're not ready to put it up next time, is that about right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
I have a very.
Yeah.
I put out some, here's from
I'm gonna bring this
Tompkins
back.
County, yeah, go ahead. And I think I would like you to
We've seen this. So,
Yeah, this is the, the county's designation of buffers and, you're not afforded very much open
No.
space here, right? So I'd like you to,
Yeah, yeah. And
if you
that-
follow the rules, right?
And that land is sort of way.
Well,
back
there's a
there.
reason why. It's not like, oh, it's, restrictions, we know why, because there's water there and.
Yeah.
And there's surface water and
Yeah.
intermittent streams and there's, so what's the buffer on the intermittent? It's 100 because it's a. It's really in it, because it's part. So it's 100 feet. How are we dealing with that?
So I would say that the way that we're dealing with it is through, we're moving something that's already there, right?
Yeah.
And we're moving it further away from the pond, which is a benefit to the pond, but we're dealing with it through the small size of it, so we're
Yeah.
not increasing the coverage. And then we're also dealing with it through the permeableness of the ground surface.
Yeah, agreed. How permeable is that stuff? You're gonna use the same as the,
Well, I mean,
like diamond trailer?
so that's a good question.
Yeah,
I'd like to answer.
yeah, the guidelines that we looked at in terms of making an ADA compliant path. And
Yeah.
I want to follow up with Neil, who's had more experience on this too, is a 6-inch path, 4 inches of which would be like freshly run
Okay,
with, landscape law. But then the remaining 2 inches would be what, 1/4 inch, like stone dust. Our goal is to replicate the surface of the Black Diamond Trail. So
Yeah.
that would be, permeable, but firm enough that somebody in a wheelchair.
ADA compliant, at least accessible. Yeah.
That's the basic design, but, we'll talk more, and we haven't, if the variances are approved, then we would be seeking, bids from contractors that would need to have more
Right.
specifics about how we want it done. Make sure that we're both permeable and navigable.
Yeah, I was for it.
And the part you're talking about right now is the new accessible.
It's a three area parking spot.
Okay.
That's
Not-
what we
not
shift
the-
over from the park. And then the other parking area, that's really only for use during events, like people
Along
who
the
park
driveway.
there along the driveway. The driveway runs along that street. So, when we have, like when the Montessori schools had their picnic, when other people had events. I would say probably judging by the last several years, like 2 or 3 times a year, but we put in our application 5 times a year, because I think that's, if we have a restroom, people are gonna probably do more things there. So we were looking to have that also be the 25-foot, because that brings us as far away from that stream as we really can get in front of our lot. Without bringing us, onto the neighbor's lot, essentially. And that's something that we don't, at this point in time, we don't plan to change. It's been used as grass, it's been used as parking area with grass, we don't have to change that at this time.
Well, you already have a septic in there, I think I saw.
We have a tank, so we
Oh, the
work with
tanks,
the
is that
health
what the-
department, they approve it, the way that we are funding this is incremental.
Okay.
And we get some money each year.
So that's a tank there, the thing that you
It's-
can see there.
Well,
Brand
you
new
can
tank
see.
with the 2
you can
caps on
see,
it.
The
What?
building.
So there's a building, so
Okay.
there's a restroom that's on the pad. And when we consulted with town planner and the code enforcement officer, this is pre-2019, no building permits. So we situated that based on what the health department had
Yeah,
advised
right.
us. And then we did add a tank because incrementally, we had money to put in the pad, put in the tank, right? And then the next year, it was time for the septic system.
Right.
But, we're hoping to do that this summer.
Did the buffer thing not come up when they're placing it?
So with the health department, that, the extreme that is good, that we're looking for the variance on, they consider that, like the DEC considers that a ditch
Hmm,
with a 20-foot buffer.
mhm,
So
okay.
that's where the health department said, this is okay.
Sites.
This is within, this is, but I'm just saying, that's.
Yeah,
what we-
right, no, we know.
And
we know
where's,
that.
and where's the tank?
So the tank is located further away from.
Uh-huh,
Can you
uh-huh.
can you show that on the?
Yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely.
that-
There's
And
another,
also,
it's in the
it's
drawing.
high.
And then I want to talk about the leach field, so while you're
Yeah.
pointing, I want you to.
Yeah,
point out
all
both of
right,
those.
so. I'd like to use this, probably the map.
There you go.
So we have
Well,
one
these-
that has the leach wave on it, I think we do.
Yeah, right.
So I'd also like to point out that the pond is higher than the pavilion.
Yeah.
Higher than the bathroom, higher than the leach field. The topography runs downhill. All right, so I'd like to use this one right here. So you're looking for me to point out where the bathroom.
Where the leach field is, in the septic.
Oh, yeah, there's
Yeah.
1.02.
That's the leach field.
Yeah.
Yep,
That's
so
it.
there's-
Yeah, so
like
there's
the
the
part-
time where's the leaching
Yeah.
field.
Yeah.
Never on
Yeah,
there.
so the health department sketch is on here as well.
You can draw the stream on there.
It does.
It's never-
Let me look for the health department sketch. Because they issued a note.
Yeah.
So
Just
I'm,
slightly further out.
so Pete, I'm thinking, I'm worried about the below ground, not, and I looked carefully, I don't know, did anybody else go, feel like the pond was gonna be threatened at all? I mean, I don't know how deep that pond is.
So,
7 feet.
Is it 7?
7 times.
So it's not, so the bottom of the pond is not really above the.
Yeah, I mean,
above that.
it's when you're in the pavilion, you kind of look up. You know what I mean?
Oh, for
Like,
sure.
For me, where I, from my height, like, I can kind of see the pond,
Yeah,
but it's higher up. And this current drawing right here, I'm trying to find it.
No, it's okay.
Here's the
Oh.
part,
Yeah.
drawing,
Yeah,
because
Right.
I know it's a
But
recent
isn't-
one because they
Okay.
related that.
okay, but isn't the new one? Further here, I think the new permit has it on this, right? This is.
Because they labeled this.
Okay.
All
All right.
Pretty sure.
So here, we
Yeah.
pass that up. Because we had to go back to the health department. To just. Well, I mean, we had enough time had passed, we weren't able to put it in last year, and so they said, you know what? Let's, maybe reapply. And they said, you know what, let's do a new drawing, that's a new drawing, so slightly.
So I guess my concern really is for the stuff below ground, including your septic and your drain field. Then, leach field. And a couple things. One is, I'm not sure they're below their lower elevation in the bottom of that pond. So water moving that way, but I'm pretty concerned about the little intermittent stream there too.
It looks like that.
And that's not, that
For the
was,
septic, I mean,
for all that stuff.
the
Leach field
septic
and-
is about.
It looks like about 100
Yeah,
feet.
it's
from
definitely more, it's
So,
definitely
yeah.
100 feet.
Yeah, because that's just a
Yeah.
little building. That,
Like a little.
here, look at right here.
Isn't this leach field?
Yeah, but look, see this 100? And that's kind of,
It's outside the
Okay.
so
buffer.
it's like, yeah, that's right on, I mean,
Where's the- So I guess I
This
couldn't,
guy's
I never
part of
saw
it
the
from-
stream on there. 'cause it's
here's the
not-
intermittent stream that they're talking about. Then there's one. And
So the tank is right on. the
there's
buffer.
another one. So it's kind of right in between the buffer, so it's really
Mhm.
perfectly placed. I mean, the health department did it.
Yeah, but they call it a ditch, right?
They've done-
No, that's not a criterion that we use. We just don't use that. We use this.
Okay.
We've already-
We don't use.
But it is the
ditch,
100
is that what you're
feet,
saying?
I mean,
We don't ignore intermittent streams because they're real.
so I believe the leach field is well within that 100 feet buffer.
Yeah.
And it's
Outside the
building-
buffer.
Outside, yeah.
And it's the building that's inside.
Okay,
There's some clarifications, just minor things, if I could.
yeah, please do.
Yeah, so
Thank
in the application, I think you kind of addressed this, but it says that there'll be 6 inches deep. 4 inches of crusher run, and then it says a 1/4 inch of stone dust. Doesn't add up to 6 inches. So that should be changed. Maybe, you might want to correct that and whatever it's actually going to be.
20%.
4 inches of crusher run with landscape fabric and then 2 inches of stone dust or whatever it comes up to be 6
That
feet.
is- that's
I'm assuming you're bringing it up to grades of stone dust.
Yes.
Oh, it's not written.
So it says a 1/4 inch.
Okay, thank you for that.
So correct the writing, is that what you're asking?
Yeah, that would, just to,
streamline it for next time.
to reflect whatever whatever you're actually proposing.
Yeah, thank you.
And I'm not clear, was a building permit required for the restroom?
No,
It was
and that
never,
was with consultation with town planner, John Zepko, and also Mark Washburn. That given the size of the structure and that it was not residential and zoning up the area, it was not required.
And-
so we didn't have all this.
they said, okay, so you were told by the town you didn't need a building. And we're, well, what?
No. So. Yeah, Zepco as planner, when we were initially asking the county for the first 5,000 to build the structure of the restaurant. when we asked if we needed a seeker, he said no. So that's why,
Secret.
so when we asked the county for a second $5,000 just recently, we asked our planner, do we need a seeker? And he said, yes.
Yes.
So we were following, so it hadn't all come before because we didn't think we needed it. It was actually in 2019, Tom Myers was on his way out
Mhm.
as code officer heading to the village. And Mark Washburn didn't come until 20. And he was brand new and still in school to be a code officer. So, I mean, I think there was, I mean, at the time, this Thomas, the supervisor, didn't say, go get one. The code officer who knew what we were fighting, and they shared the same office, didn't say, you need one. And so we sort of proceeded.
We're following some of the best advice.
And they never mentioned, you were never told you needed a variance.
Right.
And at that time, was a variance required or did that come subsequent?
I would have to look back at the 2019 zoning, for intermittent streams, and also I think this was zoned ag, now it's zoned park since the 2019.
So when that changed the buffer.
That would change the buffer.
And which I think so.
I'm pretty
appropriate.
sure the buffer was changed. since
Yeah.
then, back then.
I think so as well.
Intentionally too.
So the other, a couple other just, questions to clarify, because I'm confused. You said that, you stated tonight that JCA was incorporated in 1960.
Right.
What's I'm still not clear on what the form of incorporation is. The website says something that I can't find any
It's
information.
501c4.
A 501c4, okay, the website says 504c3, which doesn't exist.
Yeah, we need to fix that.
When did you become a 501c4?
So I'm not sure when they initially did.
Yeah, I have
but
reasons
I
to
know
ask.
when I came on in 2017, the first thing we did was hire an accountant to go through our books and to help us through that process and become a nonprofit. Because we had one, but the people that were on before us, God bless them, there hadn't been the reporting that needed to happen annually with the IRS and to keep that designation.
So you lost designation as 501c3?
Prior to, I don't know what they were prior, but a 501c4 is just a smaller version of a 501c3. So you hear 501c3 for, your United Way, Red Cross, all that, but where are you been? So that's just why we have that.
And it allows some more freedom for other activities too, right?
Yeah.
Political activities, things like that.
Which we don't take part in, but
You don't. Interesting. The similar. I think it's a great idea to move the parking away from the pond and the streets. It's a really, and I also think that being a part of the JCA, being good stewards of the environment, can be a great example for that. And it's real commendable that you want to be a good steward.
Yeah, I think we discussed that, right? It's like, yeah, you want to be the ones that.
Yeah, to lead and
Parking lot and just get rid of everything, dump our sewage and, yeah.
I
right.
don't think it serves anything to minimize the stream, the intermittent stream, which there's a lot of language in the application that seems to do that.
Ditch.
And that's just, I don't think it serves any purpose to do
Well,
that.
that's a real body of water that flows a lot underground, but it's always there, so.
Yeah, it's always there.
Think of it as a body of water.
I've checked, it was flowing July 4th, it was flowing
yeah.
last week, this is a wet summer is flowing, pretty much all summer, other than late May, it dried up a little, but the water was still there underground.
Of course.
Yeah, and it, so inclusion, accessibility are goals that, would be met by this, but so is protecting streams is a real important goal, the town too, of course. Like. The bathroom the restroom was built in a different part of the park and then relocated. And if it was it known where it was going to go back then within it, so that it was going to actually be moved into a buffer?
well, we didn't we don't think we moved into a buffer, like the zoning, I believe, changed in 2019. So we were.
After it was moved over there
Um,
or prior?
when we were looking at it, right, when we were like making decisions about where to put it, we did our best effort to, you know, put that restroom. Where it was on pad, you know, put that pad in and put that tank in. So it's not like we built the restroom on the other side of the park and said, hey, look, everybody, it's here. That was never what we did.
Yeah, I'm not,
It was always like,
I'm not
it's
saying,
going here, right? And that appeared appropriate based on what the health department had told us and also what we with their consult with the comp plan. We built it over there because we had power.
okay, makes sense. I was just wondering if that,
That's where the extension cord could give us enough.
I was just wondering if that was the reason why you didn't know, it was going to be, not in compliance with town zoning.
Because we built it over there.
No, yeah, because it was moved. That's, I was just trying to figure that
No,
out.
we made it ambitious.
Yeah.
Yeah, you know, without a generator.
So, yeah, so, one of the reasons for not moving it, there is a place you could put it. You know, that's parking that would be close to the pavilion and would not need a variance, their area variance. And it's over in here where the proposed leach field, near there and everything. And it will be outside the 100-foot buffer from both the pond and the intermittent stream. But there's a language in the request, the variance appeal that I think that it would interfere with activities or games and stuff. And I just wondered about that because the restroom was placed directly in front of a backstop. And in the past, on dry summers, that area out there was great for kickball or softball. And not every summer, not in wet July like this maybe, but you know, it was mowed and then, but now where it's that, there's no way to use that backstop or that area. So you kind of did something that goes against the reason why you're saying you want to put it, you don't want to put it in
So
a place that doesn't require your variance.
I just tell you that backstop. Right across here is where we don't mow it. So it gets mowed about once a year. And it's also quite wet there.
Yeah.
So it's not a good area to play kickball.
Well,
We
wait,
felt that it was appropriate.
wait. First of all, we don't know, you know, in the past it was mowed by community members. So, you know, like Carl Butterfield, I saw him mowing down there, my next door neighbor, Dave Sherman. They mowed it and it did work so saying it doesn't work, it was a good place to play kickball and now the restroom blocks that. That's my whole point.
I see, yeah, since 2017, that area hasn't been mowed, and it is quite wet. And the rest of the area is sort of out in front of the road. That is an area where, like, you know, if you were gonna have games, you were gonna have a picnic down. You know, you definitely see like kids from Montessori school use that area. It's not a big area. There's also a nice view shed from the pavilion, sort of out over that sort of wet grassy area. And to put parking there, like we did look at that, to put parking there, you know, it would really sort of. Well, it would do two things. One, it would cut off that view shed. It would also interfere with an area that, you know, once you get enough room for a vehicle plus room to back out and turn around, it would really take up sort of the majority of that space. But it would also cause the need for us to be asking for variance to put, you know, to extend the driveway, right, through the buffer, all the way around the pavilion. It would be a net increase in impermeability, you know, in this gravel surface.
Permeable surface.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you're not increasing impervious surface.
Well, I'm sorry, it would be a net increase of impermeable of the gravel drive.
But you're not increasing impervious surface. By extending it, is that right?
I'm sorry,
You're not increasing the impervious surface by extending it. Because it's still a pervious surface, right? Yeah. Okay, yeah.
Okay, so those are questions, good clarifications too. Are there any questions that we would need to be dealt with before? I mean, we're just streamlining next time, really. Bob, you have anything to?
Well, yeah, a question I'm not sure that Pete's the person to answer, maybe is, the zoning was changed from, it was what, agriculture, and it was changed to a special parks zone, is that correct?
I can't answer that 100% sure. But I think it was.
Hamlet, just.
And
It doesn't say Hamlet.
Yeah, I mean, the park designation for the Jacksonville Park was new in 2019. What it was prior to that, I'm not sure, but it didn't become designated in the zoning as a park until 2019.
and is it, I'm not familiar with that zone generally. We don't get a lot of variance requests from that zoning category. Are there other parts of the town that fall into that same classification, or is this a specific class was made for Jacksonville?
Yeah. So I think that some of the guidelines for it, Teganic, I think, had been a park zone. This was another park zone added, and I think they laid over all of the guidelines for Teganic onto this 10 acres. It's my hunch, but I don't know for sure.
Well, it would be good to have that background because it's, the requirements on it are more stringent than with ag. And so presumably the town board did that with, a good informed reason. And if it's really designed for Teganic, but got laid over here, that's one thing. My understanding, I could be wrong on it, but we don't have zoning control over a state park, do we? So I don't think they fall in our categories, but maybe I'm wrong on that. I'd like clarification on all of that before we finish our hearing. Let me pose it that way.
Having been a town board member, listening to our supervisor who was advocating for the creation of the park zone was an effort within the hamlet to protect that land as park.
Okay.
That's about much as I know about the intent.
That's good to know.
And so whether the guidelines were laid over from Teganic or not, that was a level of detail done by consultants in consultation with the previous planner perhaps.
So just to put a point on, I'd like to know if it was a Ham, I mean, we can find that out. Was it Hamlet or was it
I don't know.
residential?
Like I said earlier, I thought it was ag, but you
Yeah.
said Hamlet. Something.
Anyway, those are-
Yes.
It was Hamlet?
Hamlet.
Yep, okay. Good. So
And the
let's see.
purpose was to protect the park, and part of that is protection is these protections of the intermittent streams and pond, et cetera.
Yep.
That's an important consideration. Presumably, that's what the town board had in mind when they passed this.
Frankly, whether, quite honestly, as you know, probably better than most, the zoning code is very big, and probably 80% of the focus was on whether on the lot size and who control over the development of ag land.
Mhm.
That was
Right, not the details.
4.5 years of our 5 were pretty much on that.
Yep.
So the rest sort of got rolled in without necessarily calling attention to each of the individual changes, which is why with the planning board, just FYI, we will be asking for permission for special use to operate a community park in the park zone.
Yep.
Because only agriculture was allowed by right in the park zone. So, I mean, again, some of those details probably could have been noticed and fixed at the time, but now we're trying to correct them at this point. So, yeah.
Good. Okay, so we ready to hear next time around?
Yeah.
Everybody okay with this?
Oh,
Couple of
Is
those
there
corrections?
anything that you want? Is
Other
there
than-
additional material, maybe I shouldn't open up Pandora's box, but you know. I
No,
want
no,
be
you should.
prepared.
It's better than doing it
Next time.
next time, next month or whatever.
You know, I don't.
I
don't
think
wanna
that's
held
where
up
all-
on one thing and then it's.
No, that's what we're all kind of thinking about right now. Is there anything else? I don't, some of it is like, well, I have an objection to this, or that. I'm okay, I'm really looking at the streams and stream protection and all that. I think you provided enough information. You okay?
Yep.
Okay, no, I think we're good. Guess some of those details, little detail fixes would be good. Finalized, I think you had different drawings or something, so just make sure that the ones you're showing us are the ones that were okay.
I think, just the most updated.
Yeah, just so, whatever, you guys go over it and make sure you can.
Yeah.
Present.
And we will also be updating in the sketch plan that Cameron was able to do for us. We were making a lot of changes under a quick
Of
deadline.
course, of course.
So we'll do I think the labeling, because like.
Yep,
For
yep.
people not familiar, it's the pavilion and the rescue will be better labeled in the next round.
Great, yeah.
No, that's good. I mean, I'll label all these things and then get some labels on this, on these elevation. These are 1 foot, these are LiDAR, 1 foot.
Yeah, that's actually our label.
Yeah, I know, but they're faint, they're all off the side, so we just, I mean, in the area, just put it in there. It just makes it a lot easier than I'm like, okay, wait a minute, I have so these really faint contours that I have to read. This goes up or this goes down, I can't. Anyway, I just like to glance at this. Yeah,
Okay, thank you very much.
no, thank you, you get, and good luck.
Very awesome.
That's it, yep, good job. You made the maps, Cameron? Did you make the maps?
I did the drawings,
Nice job. And then you said Cornell, I wanted to ask you, is that Josh Sarah's group or what?
It is Design Connect.
Design
And
Connect.
so it's actually a landscape architecture graduate students.
Yep,
It's a student run club. They did a great job.
I think Josh Sarah's part of that or whatever, he's an advisor or something.
We also work with City Portland Recreation, but recreation and leisure grad students as well, and they formulated the final. So, material suggestions and sort of 5-year maintenance plan, those kinds of things.
And the accessibility part.
Yes,
basic
I like it.
spot.
Part-
So we just really running with that.
Good move,
Yeah.
good move.
Thank
Thanks,
you
nice
very
job.
much.
Thank you
Nice.
very much.
Thanks, thank you. See you soon. Okay, who do we have?
We've got Mr. Duffy.
This is that.
Last time I made.
That was the brief, that was a good brief. John.
Yeah.
Okay, the next item will be a very, very brief discussion with Sean Ritchie, I guess, is going to be on behalf of Chris Dalkey. Is that who's representing tonight?
Hi, I'm Josh Stafford. I'm an engineer at Finger Lakes Tram. Can you guys hear me okay?
Yeah, and so you propose to construct a new 100-foot tram system from the upper portion of the lot to the lower, down a steep slope. 2 area variances are requested.
Yes.
One is a reduction, and I had a question, the reduction of the 50-foot minimum required front yard setback. And another is a reduction of the 75-foot minimum setback from the lake. Aren't those the
Yes,
same thing?
I did the
In
same.
that zone?
The
Front yard
It
is the
is-
lake.
front there, so we have the front yard setback.
Is the lake.
Given that it's a lakefront lot, it's both the street frontage and the lake are considered front setbacks.
Both?
And then the 75 is the buffer from the lake. It's a separate regulation. So you have a front yard setback and a setback buffer from the lake.
So according to my calculations, that tram doesn't go up to the street side, though. It doesn't go within,
No, he's just saying they're both fronts.
It's
So,
considered a
like,
double fronting lot.
the lake's
yes.
up to the front.
so 50 or 75, it's 75, right?
75 supersedes the 50, yes. but
Okay.
There are 2 variances. One's from the front setback and one's from the lake buffer setback.
Wow.
You just did this recently. You just did the same thing.
Yeah, and I didn't know it was both sides. I thought it was only one, in which case it's like, well, it's not the front. The front is the lake in this case. I know that.
Mhm.
I didn't know it was both, but
It's very similar to Klonkowski.
No, no,
Yeah.
it's only from the lake, but the lake is the front.
no, he said it's considered both. That's a new thing on me. That's a new one on me. The street side and the lake side is a front.
Okay, I got you, but you're.
So we're only concerned about, because that thing doesn't come up, we're not talking about the street side, because this thing comes nowhere near the buffer from the front.
Right.
Correct. We're only talking about this double whammy on the lakeside. Okay, all right. Tell us what you got, Josh.
May I ask, have any of you on the board gone and done a site visit on that?
No,
No,
Well, I tried to today, but nobody
you?
was home, so I walked back up the driveway.
it's very steep and wooded. The Chris Gall, it's kind of a dangerous climb down. There's no stairs, there's no anything. So if you,
I'm sorry, I'm not. Can somebody translate for my bad ears?
It's deep and wooded and a very bad climb down, he said.
Well,
No
that's
steps.
what I was trying to see. I know it's a 100-foot tram. But I couldn't tell how steep it is. And the
40
exception that
40
made the last time was because it was 75 very steep stairs down. And at some point, we as the BZA have to decide whether it is too much to ask somebody to walk down those stairs. And we decided in that case, we could overrule the zoning that said that does not allow for a tram and let it in.
yes, sir.
Now, the fact that it's 100 feet tram, I don't know whether that's a steep 100 or a fairly flat 100. I would like us to do a site visit because this is, we created a situation where it's purely in our judgment whether or not the situation is extreme enough to overcome the zoning. And if we haven't really seen it, I don't think we can make that judgment.
Or we
Okay.
could ask the person who's been there. Is it as steep as the last one?
Klankowski's was a 45-degree tram. This one's 43. So it's basically just as steep. Yes.
2 degrees different.
It's
Steps or
it's
degree? What'd you say?
degrees.
2
Degrees.
degrees different.
It's pretty steep.
43 versus 45 degrees.
Tram?
Yeah, it's
Yeah,
that slope.
it's pretty darn close.
Okay, I couldn't tell from looking in your driveway or the appropriate driveway, what it really looked like.
I can talk with the homeowner and there's potential that we can schedule a time, potentially. So I can talk with him tomorrow and contact you if he is in favor of doing that, if you'd like.
I just feel like we created at my instigation, actually, a situation where we make the decision about whether it's extreme enough. And that's purely a BZA decision. And I don't want it to get to, well, the photograph looks like, or
Sure.
I want to be very sure that we as the BZA are covering our you-know-whats.
Sure, yeah, that's reasonable. Let me talk with the homeowner, Chris, and I'll get back to you, or I can talk with through Niels, if that's, I can communicate through Niels, if that's acceptable with you guys.
So Josh, I had a list, an ongoing list of the previous one, and that was a great question by Tom. Like, what's the difference in slope? And the answer is, doesn't seem significantly different. Length is 100 feet versus 80 feet, and I'm just comparing it to the Klankowski. That seem right?
It
Okay.
I
does,
guess
yes.
what I'm asking is what's the vertical drop there? As opposed to what we had.
Yeah, what's the
last one?
elevational difference?
I mean, I just realized as I was going to look at the property that we've really created a problem I created a problem for us. Because I put it solely on our judgment about whether it's extreme enough to allow a tram. Unless the zoning board will change their definition and allow trams, but they haven't at this point.
So we,
I don't know the vertical drop off the top of my head, just so you guys know, but I can get back to you.
And I'm not worried about precedent. As always, I'm not worried about precedent. That doesn't count. Every case is different. Every case is different.
Yeah.
There's something about a site visit that if it's more than 2 of us, or maybe more than 1 of us, then we have to have a meeting.
I was wondering about that.
It's an open meeting, right? 3, if you have 3, if there's a quorum. Yep.
Oh, so 2 of, you and 1 other person could go, and then you and 1 other person should go there
Okay.
and make a judgment and report back.
Okay,
Yeah.
who's nearby? I'm just down the street.
Well, I'd be happy to join you, Tom.
Okay,
Yeah, and I'd like you to look at the trees. You said something minimal, Josh, about no trees, but then no, only trees 6 inches or something like that. What's your, that's what we don't want to do is take trees out of the slope, right?
Yeah, that's never, we don't want to do that by any means. But if the path, I don't have a count saying we're gonna remove 3 trees greater than 6 inches and stuff like that off the top of
Yeah.
my head. But our goal is always to retain as much as we possibly can.
Sure, yeah, I
And
appreciate
so,
but I think I would like to count. I'd
Okay.
like to go. I'm not quite sure where that's going. Is it going right down the middle of the property or? did I miss
There's that
something?
blue thing right there.
Where is that?
Oh, or you mean like on the, I just see a blue thing that goes right through those trees, but. Maybe that's been down.
Yeah, did you see somewhere where it shows where
Right here.
placement and planometric? Did I miss that? That's me.
Oh, yeah. that's
Oh,
right.
right here. That yellow line.
Oh, it's there. Okay, yeah. So sort of to one side, not quite down the middle, right?
correct.
A little bit to the north.
A little to the north, yeah. And then that's because there's a, what is that, a staging area of some sort? What is that on there? There's some stuff in the area.
Yeah, I'm actually not sure what materials the homeowner has there. You talking about down at the shore?
No, but
Up
part of the
above.
way up, maybe.
Like where you're starting the tram at the top. There's like a little patio or something.
Oh, yeah,
Yeah.
it's like a part of his backyard.
I figured this goes down there.
Yeah. it looks
I think there's like a
together.
fire, there's like a fire pit.
Yeah,
Yeah, something like that. Hard to tell
Yeah.
from the.
So it's going from that area down.
Yes, yep.
All right,
The-
so if you wouldn't mind, I would like to see how many, just a comparison, if you could flesh out that comparison for us, the number of posts you put in, the width of
Okay.
this. And I don't think, when you presented to the planning board, their recollection is you didn't talk about stairs at all, but I thought you had to put stairs in these.
That's a home, they don't, we don't have to. The homeowner chooses if they want them or not.
Oh, really? Oh, interesting.
Is this one having stairs?
I actually don't know off the top of my head. I'm sorry. I'll have to get back to you on that one.
I'd like to-
We met with the planning board yesterday. Matt went
Yeah.
down and so they still have, do we have to go to the planning board, then get approval? I thought we had to get approval from the planning board to come talk to you guys first. Is that not the case?
Why are you going to the planning board?
That's,
Site plan review.
that's, yeah, that's
It's
the
like-
process.
Site plan review.
They
And
okayed
then
it,
after,
right? Did they?
did they
just
okay it, Niels?
They just did sketch plan review last night, so.
Okay.
Now we're.
Do they have
with-
to approve it? What does the planning board have to do there?
They'll have to do their final site plan review. So last night was just
So-
their formal review.
so that's the difference between sketch plan review and site plan review. And those are the official names for those 2 types of meetings. Thanks.
So they just need a preliminary, they're not really waiting, they're not putting us first and then they're deciding, right, like they have in the past.
No,
Right, so I don't think, I think the order is right, I mean, it's fine, the order you did it,
Okay.
but they're just not, they haven't decided yet, apparently. Or done a final site plan review, is that right? Those are the right words.
Okay, so they'll do it after you guys
Maybe
dictate.
before, no, they're actually before us probably. Right?
Okay.
Next month, if they take it up at the next meeting, it's
Well, if
sooner
the,
than us.
but if the variance
Okay.
isn't,
I know, but see, we've been playing that game, that's the question.
Okay, sorry I brought that up.
No, it's just, it's, that you has to go through both of us, if you're doing a variance, if you don't, then you have to go through them.
I thought
And so-
there was an order.
There should be
But I
an
didn't-
order.
We've done it before in the other order, but I'm not sure I agree with that order.
This-
ideally, the process would be the BZA grants the variance. If it grants a variance, and then it goes to the planning board for final review. However, given the timeline. How meetings go, if the planning board takes it up for final site plan review, they would just add a condition on their approval saying subject to BZA approval of the variances. That's how that process.
Yeah, right,
Okay,
right.
Okay.
I don't agree with you that it ideally, they do that first and then we do it, that's ideal.
But it's putting work on the planning board
Yeah.
that would be superfluous.
Or the
if
other way around.
BZA If the BZA denies
or the
it,
other way around.
then all the work of the planning board.
And
is
then we
approved.
say, yeah, we agonize and we do all this stuff, and the planning board says, no, you can't do this, so that's put work on us too, right? So I prefer they do the work.
So this looks like, it looks like we have some details about the posting stuff.
Yeah, so it's the number of, I saw that somewhere. You had the total number of posts somewhere written up, I saw that.
Yeah, it's in the letter,
Yeah,
for
I
the
saw it.
proposal.
And then will you just do us a favor, so we don't have to go digging it up, and just tell us the difference between this and the claim house? That's all I'm asking. Just quickly,
Okay,
That's
I'll do-
vertical feet.
80 feet, 100 feet, I got that.
Or what do you mean, what,
Number of posts.
Maybe stairs,
Um,
maybe not.
Stairs or not stairs, all that stuff. You didn't know if there's,
sure.
no, sorry.
and then number
I
of
can do
trees. Your estimate of the amount of trees. And then how small would you?
I-
think?
Three.
So yeah, so 3-inch DBH and less, don't bother counting them, but the other ones, please do. Just
Okay.
where you think it's gonna go and what the path is and how many you're gonna disturb.
3-inch diameter or radius, what'd you say?
Yeah, 3-inch DVH and up, just want to get an idea how much
Diameter.
canopy
Diameter.
is going to be lost, actually. That's the key.
Okay,
Yeah, and then root structure. So a 3-inch
roots.
diameter is a pretty sizable sapling, really, right? And,
Yeah.
so these are saplings.
It's established.
They're established that they're oaks, they got huge root systems, so, yeah, we're concerned about that. Just give us an estimate of how many you think you're gonna take out.
sounds good.
Yeah. All right, great. Anything else? Anybody else know anything else?
Well, the other thing that came up at the last one was just, are there alternate routes, or maybe this was not the last one, but. We want to know, are there alternate places to put it that would be better for some reason or other, so
Yeah. Good
I guess
question.
if you guys do
We'll
a site
go-
visit. we can-
yeah.
Okay, they'll cover that.
Yeah, don't forget to think about, we are gonna ask if there were, you considered alternatives. So you put a line in there, and if you could put another line in there, that would be less, more toward the center of their property or something like that. Some of
Okay.
these are just convenience, but they don't take into account the other things we do, which really is holding that slope is paramount to me and
Right.
some of the others of us.
Why is the center of the property better?
No, I don't know, actually, for instance,
Oh, we're,
because he said it's a really hard walk down there and all that.
yeah, I don't think that matters here, because we don't have like a screen thing on the side.
No, not at all.
And we
It's
can't
not-
get any further back, so they're not gonna be able to reduce the variance.
It would just be the path and how many trees you want to take down.
Trees, yeah,
That's it.
no,
That's
yeah.
all. That's really what I'm thinking.
Yeah.
So that would be good if you just kind of go and eyeball that. And also you said you're gonna arrange with the owner. So.
Are you guys
Site visit
interested?
for us? Yeah, okay, so that'd be great.
Hey, Steve,
Okay.
this is Bob. A question on that. It came up with our minutes earlier, but we were going to put stuff in the applications where the owner agrees that we can go on the site. Have we done that yet or not? Has the applicant signed off on that already in this case?
No, that's not on our applications.
It's
No.
not on the application, Bob.
But we said it would be, right? So when will it be?
We can have that in
This month.
for future.
Yep.
Okay,
Yes.
thank you.
Yes, good. Yeah, good point, Bob. That would be nice to just say, oh, they arrange, but we still can't just show up site,
No,
Uh,
no, but it makes it less of a surprise when we contact them.
Yes. Any other questions, Bob, while you're on? Anything you want to
No.
see before we meet next time on this?
It would be nice to see the site as Tom said, but no, otherwise not.
Okay, all right, great. Tom? Okay. Yep.
We're fine.
Yep. You're fine.
Yeah.
All right, anything else, Josh?
No, thank you. Appreciate you guys' time. Thanks.
Thank you. Sorry to make you wait so long. It was tough, but.
Thanks for
man,
waiting.
Phew,
Thank you.
it's
No
tough,
worries.
believe me. It's better on us than it is on you.
I'm not sure. Listening to us must be tough.
So, but hopefully we streamline it for next time, okay?
Yeah, I'll try to have all that stuff for you guys, and we'll see you next month. And I'll coordinate a site visit with the Chris, and we'll see where we go from there.
And coordinate with our planner with Niels, okay?
Good, thank you very much, appreciate
Thank
it.
you. See you guys.
Right. And that's-
Now, this one is the one. They can.
This is a appropriate time to move to adjourn.
It is, do I hear, I think, anybody have any pressing things they want to bring up, or would you please say no and bring up next time?
I move to adjourn.
Okay, I have a motion for adjourn, second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. It's okay, the meeting's over, thanks, everybody.
Yeah, thanks, Niels. Thank you.
See you guys next month. Take care.
Good night, Linda.
Hi, Linda.
Good night, everybody.
Good night.
And Mary was on too.
Larry.
Well,